Hey guys, welcome to Pixel Response. That's how we do. That's how we do.
Welcome to the Pixel Response podcast.
Monday, January 7th.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we have to keep doing that or whatever, but we're
Okay,
live. We'll say
should
that.
Yeah, should we recap what we said on the lost recording, or does it really matter?
I think the most important thing is that I finally straightened out in my mind who Penelope Cruz and Selma Hayek are.
Okay, yes, that was.
That's probably the most important thing. Oh,
Okay.
and someone died.
Yeah, sorry David R. Ellis, but thank you very much for Snakes on a Plane. Pour one out.
If you had tits, man, it would be a
Mhm.
different story. You'd be more important, but you don't.
And thank you for your stunts on Scarface. I don't really like that movie, but
That movie is the definition of an overrated movie, but I don't think it's bad.
for sure, like I somehow the hip hop world just embraced it and made it something it isn't. So maybe I'm a little harsh on it just because of its reputation, but
Did it get that reputation before or after Vice City?
before, like Vice City exists the way it is
Because of it.
Scarface.
Okay.
Yeah, like I watched New Jack City,
Mhm.
and there's like deep reverence in that movie already, like a decade after that, less than a decade after Scarface for that movie.
Mm-hmm.
So for some reason, it's just like, yeah, man, Tony Montana is so cool. Just like, okay, I don't know. I don't think that was the point of the movie. To be clear,
Mm-hmm.
like that's not what Oliver Stone was trying to say.
What he
But-
was trying to say is that it is 2013 and we're still here.
Yeah, that's kind of the hidden between the lines subtext of Scarface. But
So put your glasses up. Welcome
Mhm.
the new year, because we got another 12 months to put up with, and hopefully good media.
yeah, I think there's good things on the way. I'm pretty excited.
I was kind of like thinking back now, we should have taken about 10 minutes before we started going live and recording,
Yeah.
making a list of stuff we're anticipating for the year, because I'm drawing a blank right now. Bayonetta 2.
Like if we're thinking about games, I was writing this down earlier. GTA 5. I'm pretty curious about The Last of Us, just to see how that works out.
Mm-hmm.
There's a sequel to Hotline Miami coming out,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm into that.
It sounds like Cactus doesn't know when that's even going to get started, though.
Oh,
So
okay.
if he doesn't know, it's probably going to be a while.
Fair enough.
I hope it's this year, though.
I guess, but at the same time, if he can ship it without tons of weird bugs this time, that would be kind of neat. So
Yeah, like where people could actually download it and play it without a million problems, that'd be great.
yeah, and it doesn't crash out. I still love that game, to be clear, but man, it's been happening a bit with some of these indie games.
Mm-hmm. It is one of my top 10 of the year.
Cool. We'll get into. Actually, I was thinking about that. I think what we should do, Paul, live discussion about behind the scenes right here on the show.
Mm-hmm.
You should guest on our games one, and Sean will guest on our movie one, and then I don't need to do two of each. Is that okay?
Oh, I see how it is.
Well, I guess we won't have to do a movie one on Top Down, but it would just be weird to have to talk about the same 10 games again. Or
Yeah.
I could make two lists and have a Pixel Response top 10 and a Top Down Perspective top 10, and then we could do that.
The thing
But,
is, I've already done my list and it's already typed up.
Yeah, I
And-
finally trimmed mine down to 10 and
No, I mean, like, there's a little, like, blurb about each one, too, and why it's there.
Okay.
It's an article that's already going up.
Okay.
So I don't mind, like, if you wanted to do it that way, I don't need to, like, do a full podcast for Pixel Response and describe
sure?
why games
Well, because
are...
you're welcome to go through it, but with us again, if you'd like.
Well, no, what I'm saying is I think your way might be okay, because
Mm-hmm.
the way we do things, like you've said before, is maybe we get a little too into things, and with, like, 4 people, there's no way that could happen. And since
Right.
I already have a description of why the games are there in my mind written down for people to read later, I would be fine with just saying, like, my number 10's this. and then moving on. I'm okay with that.
Okay, I guess yeah, we can do that.
But like, I'm wondering.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're right. We should do something like that. Like, and even if John wanted to come in and talk about movies as well.
If he's inclined, yeah. I'm just not sure if he has a list or anything. If he's that invested.
I'm sure he could make one. He's probably seen like 10 new movies this year.
Okay. Well, I'll do that. But okay. We were still kind of talking about stuff we're anticipating. I'm trying to think through what else there is. I guess in light of that, kind of, there was the IGF nominations today.
Okay, I don't know any of these.
Yeah, so there was some stuff that's still upcoming that I was kind of like, oh, now I'm curious about that because I actually kind of am interested in what these dudes say, independent games people. Like Kentucky Route Zero is like a interesting looking adventure game type thing that I guess the first episode's out right now.
Okay,
but that's coming up, and mostly though was Gone Home, the Steve Gaynor game. Like the guy who did Bioshock, Minerva's Den, and all that stuff. So yeah, those are kind of also smaller upcoming things that I'm kind of curious about. There's a bunch of other stuff too, but I don't know these things. Like What's Bad Hotel, I don't know, but apparently it has great audio, so maybe I'll check it out. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Like, are there any movies you're anticipating?
Movies I'm anticipating. There's been a Coen Brothers movie that's been in the works for a while that will presumably come out this year.
Okay.
And they're kind of those guys I just kind of care about everything they do inherently. I mean, coming up in the relatively near future, there is The Last Stand, which is probably going to be a dumb Arnold Schwarzenegger action movie, but it's by the director of I Saw the Devil. So I'm curious about that. Basically, yeah, this year, the 3 films I know are like the Korean directors I'm a fan of are making movies that are coming here. So there's also Stoker, which is this weird kind of murder mystery thing with Nicole Kidman, Matthew Good, and the girl who was Alice, Mia Wasikowska or whatever.
Okay.
Which looks potentially kind of dumb, but I'm still kind of there just because of the pedigree of the director and everything. It's Chan-wook Park, the old boy guy. Then Last Stand was what's his name, Kim Si-woon or something. Oh crap! I was just trying to look up the director of The Host, which is one of my favorite weird monster movies. He also has a movie coming out this year, but that one I'm more fuzzy on the details. I'm not 100% sure what it's about.
Right.
But I'm just kind of again inherently excited because of the director. But yeah, I'm not really sure what else is coming. World War Z looks stupid, so I'll probably watch it.
Yeah.
Iron Man 3, I'll probably just end up there because I don't know. I just do that now, even though I don't really care about those movies that much. This one looks darker. I'll give it that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Ben Kingsley.
Yeah.
He'll be villainous in it.
What's he like? I don't know anything about it. Who's he playing?
Like Mandarin or something? Is that a thing?
Oh, Mandarin. Yeah. Okay.
I think that's a character. I'm not really up on my Iron Man lore.
That should be interesting. I could see that, Ben Kingsley. Yeah, for sure.
I guess the main kind of quality would be it's Shane Black, like the guy who did Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and kind of really he's pretty much responsible for Robert Downey's comeback, so they have really good chemistry together. So maybe that would, push Downey to do some cool stuff with the character. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not that, invested, but I'm still kind of curious.
For sure.
And yeah, sorry, I'm just looking up the Joon-ho Bong is the other director, the Korean guy, and he did Memories of Murder. Yeah. And Mother as well. I forgot that was also him. Snowpiercer? Is that what it is?
Yeah, sure. I have no idea.
It's called Snowpiercer, Paul, and I don't really know what it's about. Okay, AD 2031. Good start. Science fiction. Passengers of the train are the only survivors on Earth. Okay. This sounds like a fantastic movie. Oh! Yeah, this cast is pretty good, too. We got Chris Evans.
Okay.
Scott Pilgrim. John Hurt.
What? Scott Pilgrim?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Lucas Lee. John Hurt, who's the oldest man in the world. Allison Pill from The Newsroom. Tilda Swinton. Oscar winner.
Allison Scott Pilgrim as well.
Yeah, oh, that's true.
Allison
And Ed Harris.
Pilgrim.
Ed Harris, who I enjoy in a lot of stuff. Also Jamie Bell, who was Tintin. So hey, I'm already down with this. This sounds pretty great. That is also coming out this year. So, woo!
Yeah.
I don't know. Is there stuff you're looking forward to? Can you think of anything off the top of your head?
Nope.
Awesome.
I take it as it comes usually.
Okay. Are you looking forward to Grand Theft Auto 5?
No.
All right. Good
I mean,
stuff.
it's not that I'm not looking forward to trying it. I just don't care enough to look forward to it.
Okay. Whereas, like, I could see that game being kind of like a weird disappointment or kind of like a failure in a lot of ways, but like Rockstar has kind of just earned this level with me where it's just like, I'll check it out.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Because they make solid
for-
games. Either if you don't like what they're doing or whatever, they're still playable.
Yeah, like even like in retrospect, sometimes they don't hold up as well as you'd like. Like LA Noire was really great for the time, but I'm not sure that's still. I don't know.
See, I didn't like it very much, but I respected what they tried to do with it.
Yeah, like they at least try stuff,
Mhm.
which I enjoy checking out. So yeah. Oh, I guess most pertinent to my gaming stuff this week. I do have a 360 that works again.
Oh, cool.
So that's been exciting for me because it's just not been there. It just hasn't been around.
Mhm.
So I took that opportunity to kind of catch up on some of the hot XBLA games.
Okay. Like which ones?
I picked up Dust, Spelunky, which I played a bunch at your house, but I wanted to.
Yeah, you weren't really catching up on, like, because you didn't know it, but mainly because you didn't have time with it.
I like this game, I want to give them some money, and also I'll try to beat it on my own time.
And you didn't have the time that you wanted with it.
Yeah, like I kind of feel like I still spent quite a bit of time with the PC version, so that itch was kind of scratched. Okay. I realized while I was playing it, and it's kind of just sucks to get back up to speed where you were. Like I had the tunnel way deeper into the game in other playthroughs I'd done at other people's houses, but now that's all for naught because I have to start over. But I'll still check that out some more. And then, despite not liking the first one very much, I decided to try the trial of Trials Evolution. Okay. And then I really liked it, so now I own that too. So I'm playing that a bit too.
That is also on my top 10.
I saw that, like, your name was on a lot of the leaderboards and stuff, too. And I like how they integrate that stuff. Like, it definitely had me kind of like, well, I beat that level, but I sucked. So I want to at least beat a few people on this list before I'm comfortable with myself.
The thing with that game is that when it came out, I spent a lot of time just kind of laying there alone in my house with a podcast playing in the background, and I would just sit there for like 8 hours playing it while listening to podcasts, catching up on stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely a pretty good podcast game. Like the soundtrack is goofy and whatever. And
I love how it starts, like the different intros.
Oh, I thought you meant the Brandon DiCamillo thing.
What's that?
Like that bad freestyle rapping at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I mean. Like you start the game up, it's like, I don't know if you know this, but I like trials, I like danger, and they start rapping. Yeah.
Yeah, that amused me. I was into that.
Totally.
But yeah, like the actual rockin' music and stuff, it just wasn't really...
Oh, no, I'd turn that down.
Yeah, just listen to podcasts and, like... Yeah, I think watching the PAX Omegathon, like, final, just was like, man, this game just has this physics thing, and, like, I kind of could just appreciate what it's doing just by watching it for quite a while, so I was like, I want to get my hands on this and see how it feels, and it feels pretty great. So, I don't know. And it has this, like, goofy sense of humor to it, too. Like, you'll go over a ramp and your dude's just like, woo! And then you get to the end and then a piano falls on you or something. Or a bomb falls on you. Like, just, comic, slapstick, dumb stuff. And it's like, sure, why not? Physics. I like physics. So, motorcycles.
And trials and danger and fire.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure there's one level that's basically an Excitebike illusion. Just to evoke Excitebike in a way. Yeah, it just seems
The
fun.
whole game kind of evokes that, but yeah.
Yeah, but like specifically just the obstacles, like the dirt track, just resembled the same kind of hills and valleys and things that I would remember from Excitebike. But yeah, those were the three I picked up. I also claimed my copy of Kinect Party despite not owning a Kinect. And yeah, now I'm just kind of like also realizing like, oh yeah, I own a big library of 360 games that I can now play again. Weird. So I'm kind of just thinking what I'm going to do next. I'm not
See,
really
I've
sure.
kind of gone the opposite way.
Okay.
I didn't renew my Xbox Live because I realized I don't turn that fucking thing on at all. If you're lucky, I turn it on to watch Netflix.
Okay.
So I did not resubscribe to Xbox Live, and will likely just pack it up in a box because I'm going to be moving in about a month and a half.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
the Wii. Pack the Wii up.
Yeah, my Wii is actually shut down now. I've yet to import it to my Wii U. I guess I can do that now because I found a SD card while I was cleaning my house.
Are you worried about that? Just knowing that, like, if something happens, it's gone?
Like I'll lose my... Oh, you're saying like all my games and stuff? Well, aren't they sort of still tied to... Oh, no, they're tied to my machine, right?
Yeah.
But won't they then be tied to my Wii U?
I think so.
Okay.
Which I guess is fine.
Yeah, that's
It's just kind of like when you... It seems like the idea is that once you transfer your stuff over from the Wii to the Wii U, you might as well put the Wii in a box and leave it somewhere.
Yeah, that much seems accurate, which is kind of crappy.
It's kind of weird, but I guess whatever. Like, yeah.
I'm trying to just kind of think through what, like, it's just some virtual arcade games and stuff, virtual console games. But that's all I'm really need to bring over. I'm gonna lose a bunch of Miis, I guess.
Okay.
That's gonna happen, but yeah, I'm not that choked about that.
Yeah. Because if you cared, you would have been playing your Wii more anyway.
Yeah, that's true. I'm trying to think when the last time what I was really doing with the Wii. Like last year there was Rhythm Heaven. I didn't actually end up buying Other M. I've seen it really cheap all around. I just don't care enough. Which I don't know. Like I like that franchise, but I just never heard anything too compelling about this one. So I'm not sure I'll ever really bother checking it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's video games. I also, oh, I guess didn't we talk about Melanie's story in Cart Life, or was that top down?
I don't know. I don't know who Melanie is. I've only been playing Andress, and I hesitate to go back to that game because it's not what I would consider fun.
Yeah, it's much more involved and stressful than your average gaming experience. That was also nominated for a good number of IGF awards, which I felt pretty happy about.
I don't know, like, I want that in my top 10. I don't know where to put it, though. I think I'm going to kick XCOM off, because I've been playing XCOM lately.
That's on my list of stuff I kind of wish I could take a look at, but I didn't. Like, how is it? How do you feel about it?
It's really good, but I've been having, like, I feel more fulfilled with Cart Life.
Okay.
With XCOM, I kept thinking, like, maybe it was just the time I was playing it. I was playing it at, like, 4 o'clock in the morning. And I kept thinking, like, okay, these people are talking too much. I just want to be able to get to a part where I can save and turn this game off.
Okay.
And that was annoying, but that probably goes away once you get out of the first, like, 2 hours of it. They're still kind of teaching you things about what you can do and whatnot. It seems fine, I guess. Like, I wasn't huge into the series back then, so it's not like a rebirth for me.
Yeah.
It's easy enough that I can pick it up, though, and play it. So I guess that's saying something. I've been playing a lot of Little Inferno, though. And that game is kind of amazing in a lot of ways I was not expecting it to be.
Yeah, I found it really, really compelling, but like it was kind of just for the one playthrough. But even so, it was like a really interesting 3 hours or whatever. So
I'm still on the one playthrough. I'm on the last catalog.
Okay.
But
that
like,
is currently...
She gets weird.
It does get kind of weird. It's kind of... I described it as melancholy. Like, it's just kind of this weird, sad little game. Despite kind of having a sense of humor, but that almost makes it sadder. Like, it's just weird.
Yeah.
Like, you're just like, oh, this has a funny description, but I'm still burning toys and photos and
That's
memories.
not the part I found weird and, like, disturbing, though. It's everything else when you get the weird letters from your neighbor.
Yeah. They definitely do some kind of interesting character stuff.
And the weatherman.
Yeah,
above the
that
smokestacks,
stuff
high in the sky,
kind of.
or whatever he says.
Hmm.
Hmm.
That game, yeah, you should finish it before really kind of finalizing. It does some interesting stuff, but I'm not going to say why.
Purple
Um,
Sinky in the chat room saying he downloaded the Little Inferno soundtrack and he's disappointed they didn't include the shop music. That sucks.
that's kind of weird.
I love the shop music.
Are they just selling soundtracks through Steam then? Is that kind of
Must be.
where that was
I'm not
spotted?
sure. Like, we'll keep talking here, but maybe Purple Sinky, where did you get the soundtrack? Just, like, are they selling it through Steam? Are they doing that now? Maybe we'll find out an answer from him. One of the things I really liked about Little Inferno, though, is that I kind of just thought it would be this little play set, like, sandbox type thing, where you're just throwing things in, and it totally is. And
Yeah.
I think that's great. Like,
Well,
they
like-
didn't try to, like, pigeonhole it to some weird, like, no, there's, like, a progression mode or something. I mean, it's a little bit of a progression because you get more money and then you get more things to burn.
Yeah.
But overall, it's the same basic idea. You burn things to see, like, little effects that they do or what they do or whatnot, and then you have your little combos you try to get.
It almost seemed like part parody of free-to-play games. I'm not sure if you got that vibe. Like, just the kind of, like, wait for new stuff to come out. And also, like, you burn a cell phone or something at some point, and it kind of jokes about that very thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's just kind of a strange little bit of satire in there, too.
Totally.
But, like, it did definitely kind of bring me back to literally just sitting in front of the fireplace throwing, like, newspapers in it. Like, as a kid.
Yeah, like, I mean, I think I'm probably gonna, since we're not gonna be doing our personal, like, thing for the site game of the year thing, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and make my list live. So, I mean, people listening to this now, it's already live, so I'm gonna go ahead and just say certain things about it, so it's not like, trying to hype it or anything anymore.
Like, you for sure don't want to join us for ours, or what do you think?
No, like, I'm thinking, like, I probably will, but that has nothing to do with the site.
Oh, okay.
And since it has nothing to do with the site specifically, I'm going to go ahead and release my write-up of my list. And people listening to this download it on Thursday will already have been able to read that, so this isn't like spoilers or anything anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and just talk a little bit like that.
Okay.
I can't include Little Inferno if I don't include The Walking Dead, only because I feel like the reasons I gave The Walking Dead a kind of honorable mention and I didn't put it in as a game of the year is because the gameplay elements of it were really the worst part of The Walking Dead. So, like, to classify it as a gameplay experience would be wrong. Like, I don't see Little Inferno as a game as much as the same thing like you said. Like, I don't consider sitting around a fire pit back in the day throwing things in a game. It was just kind of a little nice pastime.
Yeah.
So,
they
like,
kind of layer systems onto it, but I guess I can see what you mean. It's definitely marketed as a casual game. You know, like, it's just supposed to be a kind of like a, you know, a different kind of experience that also has a game type logic to how it proceeds. But I guess that's fair.
Yeah. Man, like, I feel bad about The Walking Dead, though, every time I think about it, because I just can't classify it as a game, and so many people are saying it's the best game of the year, and I completely disagree with it, and I don't know how I can explain why without just sounding like I'm talking out my ass or something, I guess.
Or just kind of petty or something. Like, I guess, but at the same time, like, kind of like, I keep comparing it to stuff like Heavy Rain and all those kind of adventure games, but, like, in a similar way where I felt those games kind of let me down, this one did too, but not as badly. You know, it was just kind of, I took issue with some of the story's logic and kind of its constrictions and whatever.
And the thing is, I think I still felt like Heavy Rain was more of a game somehow, and I don't really know why. Like, I have to revisit Heavy Rain to be able to tell you reasons why I think it's more of a game than The Walking Dead was. But I think maybe because the gameplay part was one of the better parts.
Well, it was more finely tuned, I thought.
Well, it was enjoyable. Like, when you actually played the parts that were like, do this or do this, that was gameplay in Heavy Rain, it worked well with the story, like driving in the rain or whatever really fast on the opposite side of the road.
Yeah.
and stuff like that. When you do it in The Walking Dead, it just seems to bring it down, and it's like, this is not why I came to this for at all.
Right.
So I think Heavy Rain works with gameplay mechanics a little more well with what it's trying to be in a game sense than The Walking Dead did, because The Walking Dead seemed more just like a story that they were trying to tell you that you chose how it went.
Which actually, watching Brittany play through it again, like, I kind of forgot how clunky that first episode's action sequence was, like, at the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the logic there is just a perfect flashback to, like, weird, adventure game logic that just doesn't quite add up. Like, it's just like, oh yeah, you use the pillow, and then the gunshot is virtually silent. And it's just like, that's not how the world works.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, well, in this video game it is. Also, the spark plug, you obviously would use that to break the window. What?
Or the journalist that can't find the battery, so you have to look around for a battery to put it in, take the cover off, and put the battery in the right way.
Yeah, like, it's just like, there are some moments in that first episode that just kind of brought me back to that kind of bad place of the game kind of not having thought through its logic.
And that's where that's where I'm at with it too, because as an experience in like a narrative driven thing, it totally wins in a lot of ways.
Well,
but, like, I'm gonna...
Sorry. Actually, no, go ahead. I have a whole different topic that can stem out of this.
Okay, I was going to say, but in terms of if I'm going to just talk about like all of it total as like a gameplay experience with the narrative part of that, it totally fails in a way none of the other 10 games did.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I don't think it's fair, because it's like, yeah, you can tell a great story, but you didn't make a great game. Like, I didn't have to sit down and play this. I could have watched someone and gotten probably enough out of it that I would have enjoyed it.
Yeah. This kind of brings up just this kind of topic I saw going around on Twitter, on my Twitter feed anyway, prompted by Robert Florence. He's this former writer for Eurogamer. It was kind of about writing characters.
Mm-hmm.
And in that respect, I think Walking Dead is kind of impressive, because it does kind of pay attention to making sure over the course of this arc, these characters encounter things that change their thinking or change their relationships and stuff like that. Like, it's actually pretty interesting to see that happen. And that holds
true throughout the whole thing. Like, stuff with Kenny in the first 2 will reflect of how he acts with you in the last one.
Yeah, like, that stuff, that's nice. I like to see that being given some attention in video games. Like, that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But this kind of topic that was specifically, it was like, why is there no Ellen Ripley equivalent in the world of video games?
Mm-hmm.
Was basically the question, and I was like, I don't think that's really, like, it seemed kind of like a why are there no strong female characters thing, which we kind of talked about on that one special episode.
And there totally are.
Well, there are a few. That was kind of my thing. But at the same time, it also kind of brought up, why are we pretending like video games have 3-dimensional interesting characters of either gender? Like, I can't really come up with like a strong list of like, why is all this attention being paid to these amazing male characters? And it's like, what amazing male characters? Are we talking about Mario? Are we talking about Sonic?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you saying? Gordon Freeman? He never talks.
Mm-hmm.
Master Chief, he's like the super soldier, you know? Like, even if they're given more attention, they're not necessarily as well fleshed out as this like topic made it sound, which I thought was kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was kind of an oversight. But like, my argument was obviously Mass Effect 3, like, or just Mass Effect in general, Commander Shepard.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, you know, hey, sci-fi setting, female protagonist, Ellen Ripley, basically. Like,
no. Because
well, I'm just saying, like,
the male and female are written the same with different voice actors.
Except they're not, which I found kind of weird. That was kind of the thing, like the revelation that came out of that discussion was apparently, like this kind of bothered me. Like this was the one kind of valuable insight that I think actually does mean we need better writing for female characters in video games.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently there's a sequence in Mass Effect 3 where if you're playing as male Shepard, you console a female shipmate for getting stressed out.
Which one?
I'm not sure because I didn't play as male Shepard. Like this was a tweet, so it's 140 characters. It was just kind of a summary.
Mm-hmm.
But based on what this said, it was basically like in that game there's a moment where male Shepard kind of brings aside a female shipmate's like, hey, don't worry, man, it's gonna be okay. Like, don't worry about it.
Okay.
However, if you play as female Shepard, and I do remember this scene, you freak out, and then the character played by Freddie Prinze Jr. or whatever, like I forget who he is, that strong tough guy.
Mm-hmm.
He consoles you, so they kind of make the female character weak in both cases, which is kind of gross. If that is in fact the case, like that's kind of strange.
Okay.
Like, why couldn't it be like Caden is wussing out? Because, dude, Caden
sucks. And Ashley was always the other end of it, where she was tougher.
Yeah, so why can't it kind of just go that way or something? But I guess Caden might not be there. I'm not sure. It just seemed a little weird. But I don't know.
The thing is, what I was going to say is that maybe the reason why there's no strong female protagonist in video games is because with player agency, they can kind of do whatever they want with them.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I'm just trying to think besides Samus, all the strong female characters I can think of are pretty much, like, antagonists or secondary characters in a world that already are, like, predetermined in how they act. Like, I just can't really think of many female characters you control that they actually even give a personality to, and maybe that's because they want people to project themselves onto them as an avatar.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm trying to think of like Resident Evil or something, like Jill Valentine, but I don't know. Samus, she's pretty much silent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, I mean, there's my kind of thing was like there's just not that many strong examples of character writing in video games anyway.
In general, yeah.
In general, like if you want to generalize it, you can't be like my rebuttal would kind of be like, oh man, like or it's like, well, yeah, thankfully we have an equivalent to Michael Corleone or Citizen Kane or something. It's like, oh wait, we don't. Like, what are you talking about? You know?
Yeah, like I'm trying to think of a strong male character now, and it's not easy.
Like, that's where Walking Dead kind of crossed my mind, at least, because
maybe Solid Snake.
You know, I guess so. Maybe Boss, maybe.
Like,
I'd probably go with more that one, just because I thought.
Yeah, because Solid Snake is kind of weird because he's just kind of doing what he's told.
I guess Solid Snake, yes. Like, Big Boss, I kind of liked his development.
No, Big Boss is totally different because for one thing, he's not a clone, and he's like. He turns into what Solid Snake is in the other games, where he's just kind of doing what his government wants him to, and he starts getting a mind of his own and doing this weird thing that turns out to be like the main antagonistic side of things for the later games.
Right, like in 3, it's kind of him being the naive soldier, and then at the end of it, he has to question everything he's doing. Mm-hmm. And then in the subsequent games, which I only recently, like, now that I have a 360 again, I can finally play more Peace Walker, but those seem to be kind of him starting his revolution and stuff, which is kind of neat to see happen. Mm-hmm. So he's okay, I guess. But even so, it's like kind of an over the top kind of thing. But
yeah, like in the same regards, I could have seen Kojima doing the exact same thing with the female character, because he's made strong female characters that are also kind of weird. So I don't know. Like, I guess what I'm saying is you could have made Big Boss female, and it would have played out the exact same way. It's a pretty generic, nothing with Big Boss's story that makes him interesting is gender specific. It's what he is as a person that they made him, and like what he did. Mm-hmm. So like you could have easily put a female into that role doing the exact same stuff, and she would have been just as good, I guess. So
yeah,
I don't know if you can really do gender specific things and make a character great, because you automatically forfeit any care about this is gender specific, so they obviously just care about this one specific thing.
There is one franchise I'm kind of a little ignorant about, but I've played some of it. Longest Journey and like Dreamfall. I know those have female protagonists, mm-hmm. and I'm just not sure how well thought through they are. Like, from what I saw of Longest Journey, like there's some potential there, but I never finished it, so it could go kind of lame. I'm not really sure.
Right.
But yeah. Anyway, that's just something that kind of.
You could be a female protagonist in Little Inferno.
Could you?
Maybe. If you're playing it and you're female, you probably are.
Oh, I guess, yeah, it's kind of pretty ambivalent about it.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure if
maybe, do you think that's a way games should act?
Is just kind of make your own character there.
Well, I'm just thinking,
kind of
like,
right.
what would happen if, like, the whole thing happened with Half-Life 2, but instead of referring to him as Gordon Freeman, they just refer to you as you. So it's like you're the one being thrown in here. Like, a lot of story beats wouldn't work, like Gordon always being put to sleep until he's needed, blah, blah, blah. But, like, do you need any of that to make an interesting... Like, the last thing I think about the Half-Life series is story beats, because I don't care. So, I don't know.
Yeah. There were some kind of supporting characters that were given acknowledgement, like Alex Vance.
Mm-hmm.
But doesn't she still kind of become... She's in danger at some point? I don't really remember. Like, you have to go save her.
Well, the thing is, if you want to get into that specific of territory, anybody can be in danger at any time and have to be saved. It's just kind of weird that they always choose a female to be.
Right. I guess, like, just in light of stuff I've recently been playing, I also was playing Sin Episodes.
Okay.
And it was just kind of weird, because, like, everything I've seen marketed of that game is, like, this lady standing there.
Mm-hmm.
But then she's actually a supporting player. Like, the main character you play is, like, some generic male agent dude. I forget his name. It's, like, Chase or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or Blade? It might be Blade. It's something stupid. And then periodically you interact with this, like, red-headed, thong-wearing female character, which is just kind of like, this is weird. Like, I don't know. The character designs in that game, like, there's a dream sequence where there's, like, bikini-clad villain lady, and it's just so weird. It just does not. Or Joanna Dark, maybe? How was she treated? I just kind of forgot that
she was treated less seriously in Perfect Dark Zero.
Yeah, I never...
But she was essentially the female James Bond for... Like, she was the female GoldenEye game.
Yeah, and that was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of didn't give her much credit, but I remember that. That was an okay campaign and everything. Yeah, I'm not sure. Some of the Persona games, they account for both genders, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does 4 do that or no?
No idea. I never played 4.
Okay, I know 3 did, but I'm wondering if they're good examples or not. But okay,
like, what would you think of Lollipop Chainsaw? Juliet Starling.
I'm not really sure how I feel about the character. All I know is I just wasn't pulled in by the gameplay very much, like, to the point where I kind of just... Like, trying to get up to the point where I was at your house on PS3 was just kind of a weird task, and I just never did it.
Right. I think, like, the gameplay is totally serviceable to keep you intrigued enough to see more of the story, but it's not what you would go there for.
Yeah, it's like, I've hacked up stuff before, I don't know, this isn't really...
And then they have the little mini-games that are just bad.
Like, initially kind of funny, but then they become frustrating, and yeah, like, the baseball one was kind of terrible.
The basketball one wasn't that much greater either, though. Like, it wasn't hard by any means, but it wasn't fun, I would say.
Yeah.
There was nothing about it that engaged you on a level that you're like, hey, this is enjoyable.
Yeah, I've been kind of thinking about reappraising some of Suda's stuff, because it definitely stood out as being really weird, but I'm not sure if it holds up as being actually good in a lot of ways. Like, I should probably go back and actually finish No More Heroes 2, because, like, initially I kind of liked some of the minigames they were doing and stuff.
I don't like No More Heroes games at all.
Like, just too much lame combat, or what?
Yeah, it's just not enjoyable for me at all. And then I got back into Killer 7 recently for something else, and that game is interesting, it looks great, but the controls are terrible. Like,
I remember kind of finding some satisfaction in the motion control in that. Like, it was one of the few times it felt impactful or something.
Killer 7?
No, sorry. In No More Heroes, I did try to play Killer 7 again, and yeah,
the controls are bad. Like,
they're just bad. Like, I can't really apologize for it. Like, it's such an interesting, stylish exercise, and I still remember things of that game after playing it like 7 years ago, but I tried going through it again, and man, it's just rough. I should probably, if I didn't, I should definitely put it on easy or something and just kind of go through it again. Like,
I've been reevaluating a lot of things lately too, and Suda is one that I've gotten to recently. I absolutely love that guy's brain and what he does and what he thinks and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think video game is a great platform for him, because I don't think of a single game where there wasn't one or two things that made the experience really kind of shitty for me at some point.
Like, it's almost like, why aren't you just directing anime?
Because, like, Shadows of the Damned is great, and I think that might be because it's his weird, crazy ideas, and it's a very, very, very basic formula, where it's just shooting.
It's some Shinji Mikami type stuff, right? Like,
right.
Wasn't he involved in that one? Like, now that I have a 360 again, that's definitely one I should probably go back and look at.
Right, and Shinji Mikami is really good about the, like, actual gameplay part.
Yeah, like, it still seems a bit dated, and that is basically Resident Evil 4 gameplay, but that was fine. I was replaying
But the thing
that.
with his games is I can pick up any of them and just play,
Mm-hmm.
and that's fine. It just helps that he does some weird things as well.
Yeah.
But, like, he was the game designer of Goof Troop, man. It's a great game.
What?
He was the game designer of Goof Troop.
Shinji or
Shinji.
Oh, Shinji. Okay.
Yeah.
Mikami-san. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's other stuff. Like for some reason, I did find myself kind of in that loop post Killer 7 of just being like, Suda 51 is great. I'm just gonna acquire stuff. So I also have like Samurai Champloo, which he produced. A Contact. What was that? Flower, Sun, Rain.
Flower, Sun, and Rain. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I also have that, which I tried playing with, and I kind of like the conceit of like you have a bomb that is gonna go off at this time, and you have to do stuff. But I just found it so crappy on the DS. I just didn't play past a certain point. But yeah, like
and Fatal Frame 4, which is apparently the best one.
Oh, I don't have that.
I think that was the one that was only released in Japan, right?
Right. I did hear he was.
I heard. Yeah, he was the writer for it, I think.
That's interesting. Like I still find him a very interesting character in this whole thing, but like, yeah, he seems to have issues marrying gameplay to his ideas. Like,
which is a shame, because if he found that out, I think his games would be some of the best.
Yeah, like playing Killer 7, like the bit I did, like it's kind of, you just press A and you run, and then you kind of encounter his writing. And you just have to listen to this weird character say weird things for like.
And then you have to try to kill a monster that's way too hard because the aiming and the shooting is terrible.
Yeah, and then it's like, well, I just kind of want to get to the next cutscene, or that part where there's a severed head in the dish, in like the dryer, and just weird stuff happens. And it's like, yeah, but you gotta shoot these heaven smiles or whatever. It's too bad, but I still kind of keep an eye on his stuff. I might still go back to Lollipop Chainsaw at some point. I can't really speak to Juliet Starling. Like, are they kind of like, I'm assuming with all the kind of trauma stuff that James Gunn is familiar with and everything, like they're definitely self-aware of the sexy cheerleader. Like that's obviously a cliche they're playing with.
Totally.
But I guess does that necessarily make it a clever thing they're doing or not? I don't know. I'm not really sure. Is she just strong and owning her sexuality, or is she still kind of like the way it was promoted was the main issue, right? Like to sell that game, they were definitely kind of leaning on the sexy cheerleader thing and like Jessica Nigri walking around conventions and stuff, but that wasn't necessarily what the actual game was written to do. So,
but then, like, why is it any different than Borderlands having some like Double D model playing Moxie?
Yeah,
and
I've actually been baffled by the sexualization of those characters that happened post Borderlands 2. Like,
what do you mean?
Oh, dude, like just Rule 34 drawings and like stories and weird stuff just popping up on Reddit.
Dude, I don't know what you mean. It's not like I look at those every day.
Okay. Or are you facetious, or are you?
No, like I don't actively go out and seek them. But
no,
there has been one or two times I actually looked at cosplay for Borderlands, and yeah, they go in weird directions sometimes.
And it's just like, are these characters actually well written enough to where people are like, yeah, I love this character. Lilith? Who's Lilith? Is that the sniper?
No, Lilith is the siren from the first game.
Okay. People are way into that Lilith, apparently.
She does some okay stuff in the like. I don't think any of the characters are necessarily characters you should look up to in those games. They're just kind of there filling certain cliches or archetypes.
Okay.
So
Heavy, sniper.
More like the
fast guy.
The like chick with attitude.
Oh, okay.
And like the kind of weird like big guy that
he's a little slow.
A little bit, but he can like beat things up real good. Yeah, so
I'm kind of trying
that game is not on my top 10, believe it or not.
Borderlands 2? Okay. Yeah. Like, despite you kind of enjoying some of the stuff it did, it just didn't stand out.
Oh, dude, it was some of the most enjoyable time I've had. But there's nothing about it that stands out enough on its own.
Okay.
I mean, it's Borderlands. If you played Borderlands back in the day, you're going to play Borderlands 2 and you're going to love it. Like, there's no reason to say it's a Game of the Year contender, because it's just going for that niche market that it established a long time ago.
Yeah, it's completely known.
It's not doing anything new at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is totally fine, and I dig it. But, yeah.
I'm trying to think how to transition into this movie I watched that I have really significant issues with.
Which one?
That seems to touch on kind of some of the stuff we're saying, vaguely, but it's called God Bless America.
Okay.
It was directed by Bobcat Goldthwait.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you've did you see World's Greatest Dad?
Oh, dude, I've been wanting to watch this movie. I know all about it, yeah. Oh, yeah. I guess for anybody not knowing, dude kind of loses his mind and realizes that he should go out and just kill people that he finds are the, like, bane of America.
Right. Which, like, I found kind of humorous in the trailer, like, I wanted to seek it out. Mm-hmm. In practice, though, I just found the movie, like, really hypocritical, and I was, like, just grossed out.
And the thing is, he meets up with, like, a teenage girl at some point, and she starts helping him.
Right.
Yeah, I guess that's an important part to say, too.
I guess so. I'm trying to think kind of stuff I compare it to would be Natural Born Killers, Bonnie and Clyde, which they kind of invite that comparison. And just in practice, though, it's just kind of so weird that this movie kind of feels self-righteous enough to kind of put people on a hit list, basically. Like, people on crappy reality shows don't deserve to be alive, is kind of one of the assertions they make. It's just like, if you're on Super Sweet 16 and you're incredibly entitled about everything you have, you should die.
And see, this is where I'm just going to quickly go off on a second on a bit of a rant. These people should not die. The fact that you're watching it and you're supporting it, you're the one that should die. Like, if you actually care enough that you're watching some Sweet 16 thing, or you're watching Honey Boo Boo or whatever, you're part of the problem. Like, with Honey Boo Boo specifically, because I'm sure there's something like that. Like, the basic idea is kind of there with God Bless America, is that with that one specifically, the fact that people are actually watching and giving this redneck family that obviously had nothing to begin with, and you're giving them incentive to actually keep acting like this, you're actually making their lives better by making everybody's culture worse. So you're part of the problem. They aren't. They're just playing you like a bunch of chums that you are.
Right. And, like, that's kind of one of my issues, is the audience is obviously the bigger problem. Like, an audience exists for this stuff, so you can't solve this problem by shooting someone. That's terrible.
Unless you shoot everybody that watches it.
And at that point, like,
you're killing everybody.
Yeah, and you need to kind of reevaluate your position. Like, maybe you don't have all the pieces here, This movie kind of lays that stuff out, like, just kind of makes a list of stuff they feel is problematic with society. But then at the same time, like, the main character doesn't actually do anything to correct that. Like, I read an IMDb review that kind of summed it up pretty well. Like, he just sits at home and just watches it. Like, he doesn't not watch it. He doesn't read a book. He doesn't, like, try to go out and actually do something. He just sits and watches it and gets angry at it. And it's just like, well, it's just not for you. That's fine.
That's kind of weird, though, because that's exactly what, like, I'm going to just say America does, but, like, we're part of that, North Americans.
Well,
like it's just what we do as a society. People do sit around and just be like, these people disgust me, and they will watch every week to hate people.
That's so weird to me, because, like, yeah, there's a rant the main character has early in the movie. He's played by Joel Murray, who was in Mad Men and such. He's Fred Rumson. And yeah, he's just, like, one of his coworkers just like, wait, so did you see this thing on American Idol last night? Basically, in the movie, it's called American Stars. Right. And just like, well, no, I don't watch it, but I saw it. And it's just like, there's a lack of self-awareness. Like, you did watch it. You didn't turn the channel. Like, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. You know? If you're actually that offended by it, don't contribute. But he kind of keeps contributing. And over, like, you know, like, that kind of thing about, like, there's an audience for it. Mm-hmm. So that's the problem. At some point, he kind of feels that way, too. He's like, you guys are taking advantage of this guy who was really terrible on American Idol. Mm-hmm. Like, basically. Like, what was that guy? Like, there was that Asian singer who was really...
William Hung.
Yeah. Like, they basically gin up their equivalent to that, named Stephen Clark in the movie. And he kind of uses that as, like, part of his crusade to kind of fix society. Like, he's gonna go there and threaten the judges to dance around and act horrible so that Stephen Clark can laugh at their expense to see what it's like. Mm-hmm. But then at that point, Stephen Clark reveals that he actually wants the attention.
Totally. Otherwise, why would you go on this program?
Right. But then he kind of uses that as like, oh, well, you're part of the problem too. You're disgusting. I'm going to kill you. Whereas I'm just like, but you're on TV right now using this as a platform to spread your message. So you're also an attention whore. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, the characters that the movie considers its heroes are also attention whores. Like,
yeah, otherwise why would they kill people?
Yeah, it's kind like, and even the teenage girl he's riding along with the whole time is constantly looking for news stories, hoping that they're in the news.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the Natural Born Killers, like, comparison, because that's all
Natural Born Killers didn't have anything to do saying that they were good people, though.
Yeah, see, like, that's where I actually found something of value in Natural Born Killers, because it's like...
the Hotline Miami of movies, really, where it's just like, no, they're just bad people and this is what they do.
And if you're at all grounded in reality, you recognize that they're bad people. The thing with that movie
is... straight out tells you that they are. They don't try to make excuses for them at all.
I know. The reason I kind of have to, like, specifically spell out why I think Natural Born Killers is more interesting is because that movie was blamed for a bunch of crimes. It's kind of been accused of being irresponsible with its violence and not really spelling out that it's not glorifying it.
Right.
But I felt that was kind of implicit in everything they did. Like, the way the news media, like Robert Downey Jr.'s character, treats it, like, you're obviously supposed to make the connection, like, this is gross, why are we filming this, why is this happening? Mm-hmm. Whereas in this movie, like, the people that film it also get shot and stuff like that. Like, it's just kind of like, these two characters are so hypocritical, not self-aware, like, very, like, again, the IMDb review I said kind of basically said, Bobcat, get off my lawn, Goldthwait. Mm-hmm. Like, he's got that old man, the way the world used to be is so much better, obviously, mentality that it just kind of rang false to me. Like, it's just like, oh, you're just old and don't understand how anything is anymore.
To be fair, though, that guy's a fucking idiot. Like, he hasn't made a single thing that has been intelligent ever.
Well, that's kind of what bummed me out, is because I actually liked a lot of things about World's Greatest Dad, but looking at it now, like, I think some of that might have just been Robin Williams' performance. You know?
Probably.
Like, I probably was just kind of at a place where I hadn't thought much of Robin Williams for a long time.
Dude, Robin Williams made the premise of Mrs. Doubtfire intriguing enough to watch.
Yeah, but, like, you know, after that, I just kind of looked at him as this, like, weird, hyperactive, crazy guy.
My thing is that he has so much charisma, he can take any stupid, retarded idea and make it gold, somehow.
Or at least make it, like, watchable and amusing. But
yeah,
for a long time, I found him kind of irritating, and that was kind of my return to kind of like, all right, when he wants to, he can really envelop a character and make them interesting. Mm-hmm. And I really got caught up in that movie. Despite, again, yeah, I guess I did have some problems with the ending of the movie and kind of some issues with it, but I was willing to give Bobcat Goldthwait some time to kind of look at it and think through it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess on some level, I still admire just how ridiculously audacious this movie is. Like, it's just like, I think Glenn Beck is terrible. In my movie, they're going to shoot him. Like, it's just kind of like, basically, like, there's a character that's an equivalent to that. But there's, again, that lack of self-awareness and kind of introspection that made me feel kind of just uncomfortable. Like, it's not funny. Like, it wasn't funny, and I think it thought it was a couple times that made me uncomfortable. Like, it was just like, oh, you just don't understand how society is anymore, and that's kind of just not great, you know? Just, like, yeah, despite kind of, like, all the bullet point list of qualities that I would normally be like, yeah, like, it's like the performances are totally fine, it's, like, has a vision and it kind of fulfills it and everything, I just feel like the way it sees everything is just so flawed, I just could not recommend that movie. Like, it kind of really bothered me in a way a movie hasn't in a while. So
interesting.
It's like kind of like when I first saw the trailers for it, it kind of was like, oh, this is going to be kind of like Kick-Ass or something. Like,
that's what I thought too. Like, it was going to take a comical approach on something that's probably a very serious idea and go far enough out with it that's like, oh, this is obviously just some deranged lunatic that, like, they're following what he's doing, and it's kind of, like, self-righteous, and it's ridiculous and funny in that regard.
Right. Like, there's a line or two that suggests they are aware of that.
Okay.
But not enough. Like, they still seem to kind of glorify their character in a way that I was just like, oh, no, this is just kind of psychotic. Like, this is weird.
Right.
I don't like it. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to really spell out exactly. Like, I guess it's for, like, people who are interested in, like, the subject and, like, want to see a companion piece to Natural Born Killers and kind of think through this issue, maybe it's worth seeing. But, like, a lot of the reviews I've been seeing are just like, yeah, man, this movie tells it like it is. That's scary to me. Like, that's not the conclusion you should make at all. Like, this is way too simplistic. Like, I also just took issue with some of the credits. Like, honestly, I watched through the credits of all the movies I see just because I do.
Yeah.
In his special thanks section, he kind of has this list of celebrities and stuff that are in there too. Like, it's like, hey man, thanks to Kat Von D, the tattoo artist extraordinaire. You know, like, just like her name is listed on there, and it's just like, well, you have this list of kind of nonsensical celebrities that are just celebrities for the sake of being celebrities that are on Twitter. Like, they call out Twitter as being bullshit. And she is, like, a noteworthy Twitter personality.
And, I mean, I just hate her. So, anything you say at this point, I'm totally with you. So, yeah, fuck her. I'm
just kind of like, in the movie, they basically have these long diatribes to just kind of call out stuff they think is shit. Like, Juno. They're just like, Diablo Cody's the worst. But Kat Von D...
I agree with that, too.
That's fine. Like, I don't even mind. Like, I own that movie. I thought there was some interesting stuff in it. I thought Young Adult was kind of interesting. But I totally get the argument, like, she's just so kitschy and her dialogue is really irritating and all that. Like, I can see that. But the way this movie kind of, like, not only states that opinion, but then also decides to add on, and we should murder her for laughs, just kind of is a bit too far for me to kind of be okay with that. Like, it's just like, that's just kind of irresponsible and kind of rude, and I don't like it.
I want your opinion on something quickly. We're on kind of this subject. So this Friday, a movie called Zero Dark 30 is coming out.
Yes, it is.
This, in a way, kind of glorifies realistic things, I'm guessing, in a way I'm probably uncomfortable with. And this might be because I'm Canadian and not American, just straight out. But I have a feeling this could be a very damaging, like, fuck yeah, we did it, sort of, like, adding fuel onto a fire that's already burning and starting to kindle out. Like, I think, for the most part, the smart Americans know that, like, even though they've probably done some things that they shouldn't have done, or even though they've done some probably great things in the world, and, like, sure, maybe specific people do need to just not exist anymore to stop evil, or whatever. I think they're like the smart ones are realizing that. I think the dumb ones though will take this as like, yeah, we should probably just go over there and kill every leader now, and just stuff like that. Like I get really worried when it comes to stuff where it's like, yeah, we won, like we rule the world sort of thing. It's a very weird and dangerous attitude, and it's only the like really rednecky, gross ones that actually take that as that, but they're usually the ones in majority. So something like Zero Dark 30, I don't know which way they're taking with this, first of all, because it's not even out yet.
Right.
I have a feeling it has the potential to cause some bad ideas in people's head. I think.
See, I'm very, very skeptical. Like, the critical response to that film has been, like, glowing to the point where I'm just like, well, you all were wrong about Hurt Locker, first of all. Like, that movie was kind of worthless.
Okay, like, are we talking specifically about Catherine Bigelow, then?
I mean, just in relation to, like, that is another movie that relates to this whole war on terror and everything. Like,
okay.
I guess so, but...
Like, I'm just trying to think of a movie I've seen of hers that I actually enjoyed, and I mean, ironically, Point Break.
Yeah, Point Break was kind of funny.
Unironically, like, none.
Yeah, like... Or, like, I'm trying to think, what was that submarine movie? The Widowmaker?
The Widowmaker.
I saw that and was
Never
just
saw
like, hey, Liam Neeson and Harrison Ford, okay, but it's totally unmemorable. It doesn't really matter.
Does Liam Neeson get naked?
No, he just kind of speaks in a Russian accent. Like, there's no nudity in it. It's PG-13.
Oh, she did Near Dark?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, I take it back. Near Dark is the best movie.
That she's made? Okay.
Oh, I really like that movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, so
I didn't know she made that. Okay. So now I'm saying Zero Dark 30 has potential.
Just based on that one thing. Okay. Just like, forget everything I said about it being real problematic. Near Dark is badass, so we're good.
You know, the movie that had Bill Paxton in it and came out like 30 years ago? So, like, nothing's changed since then.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Lance Henriksen's in it too, apparently. So
it's really good.
I've never seen it, but okay.
You need to give me Battle Royale, and I will lend you that.
Okay. I should actually watch Battle Royale. I've been meaning to do that.
I mean, probably, but yeah.
Pile of stuff. But okay. In relation to Zero Dark 30, though, like, I've said this before on previous episodes, like, I feel like this could easily go the same way as those newsroom episodes I took exception to, that were very much like yeah, we did it, we won! And then, like, at no point does any character enter in and be like, what are you talking about? Like, you spent $1 trillion, fought for a decade, and killed, like, a guy who was, like, 65 on dialysis. What did you do? What did you actually accomplish? Like, if at no point anyone questions what they're doing, yeah, I will kind of have the same issues. Like, the way it seems pitched is just like, it's a badass action thriller about this real thing that happened, and that does seem kind of irresponsible to me. I've also, like, I've heard a ton of banter, and, like, CIA actually made a statement on it, about, like, the use of torture in the movie does not necessarily reflect their actual policies or something. Like, they felt compelled to do that. I guess at some point in the movie, torture results in key intel that leads to the successful capture and killing of Osama bin Laden, or whatever.
Okay. Which,
yeah, they didn't flat out deny. They just kind of said, there were other sources too. Come on. You know, which is kind of weird in its own way.
Like, this is where it gets weird for me, is because I don't necessarily think that torture is a bad thing if it goes to, like, a result that is in the long run a very good one.
Well, it's so, like, that's the shades of gray thing, though, where it's like, good for who?
Yeah,
who's the real bad guy?
I mean, this is what I'm getting at. It's the fact that when media takes something that's very gray, and makes it black and white, it's a very dangerous thing to do.
Right, and this movie seems to kind of take a stance on it, which, you know, I'm not sure I'll be comfortable with. Again, this is idle banter, though. Like, I haven't actually seen the movie. Like, I have
Maybe we should go this weekend and hold hands while we try.
I'm definitely planning to see it, just as kind of like, this is a thing, like, the culture is talking about. I need to know what it is.
Yeah.
But I've honestly, like, I don't really know why, but I've been thinking, like, this might be a movie I have significant moral problems with, maybe I'll just buy a ticket for another movie and sneak in. Like, I'm that weirded out about it. Like, I don't want to say, yeah, Catherine Bigelow, I'm excited. I kind of want to just be like, I would pirate this if I had the chance, you know? Like, I don't want to necessarily give it my money unless I know what their stance is. Because this could be one of the most irresponsible movies of the year. But at the same time, it's just getting all this Oscar buzz and stuff, and I like Jessica Chastain. I like Chris Pratt. I've heard good things about Joel Edgerton. You know, like, there's reasons for my, like, film part of my brain to want to see it. But, like, the political part of my brain is just kind of like, this seems really bad. I don't know what you guys are doing. So,
well,
we'll see.
And also the subject matter, like, do they really need to make a movie about finding Osama bin Laden?
The weird thing is, like, this is legitimate. It was in development as a movie before they actually caught him. Like, before they killed him.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, like, I guess it was just supposed to, like, they were going to make this story about this team that had been trained to find him. And then I guess it was going to be this kind of, like, maybe like Jarhead or something, like, that unfulfilled thing. Like, have you seen Jarhead?
I have, yeah.
Okay, like, just, you know how he's sent there, he's trained to do a thing, and then he never gets to actually fulfill it? Like, it was, like, I'm assuming it would be kind of more that tone to it, like, you know.
I don't think so, because I just pulled it up on IMDb, and the synopsis for it is a chronicle of the decade-long hunt for Al-Qaeda terrorist Osama bin Laden after the September 2001 attacks and his death at the hands of Navy SEAL Team 6 in May 2011, so that's going to be part of it. Somehow.
Well, yeah, like, but I was under the impression it was going to be more kind of like, are we going to win? Like, or it was going to end in a much more ambivalent place, like a vague place, you know? Or
I think
like,
the only way they could end it is like the deed happens, and then it's just kind of like, what the fuck did we do? Like, what happened?
Or I was kind of thinking, just keep it kind of as straightforward as possible. Like, honestly, I was thinking about French Connection. Do you remember the French Connection?
No, I don't.
Okay. Have you seen it, though?
No.
Oh, okay. Just basically...
I don't care. You can spoil anything. I don't care.
It's a 40-year-old movie. Basically, it's a somewhat true story about a group of cops who uncover this major smuggling ring.
Mm-hmm.
And then the end of the movie, like, it stuck with me so much because I saw it really young, and it was one of the first movies I saw that just kind of had an unsatisfactory ending on purpose. And I wasn't sure what to make of it. Like, I was just angry. But it basically, there's like this, they're chasing this smuggler who they've been trying to catch the whole movie. Gene Hackman runs across this warehouse into the back room. You hear some shots, and then it cuts to credits. You don't know what happened.
Yeah, like, there's a few movies I'm trying to think of the specifics of now that I can relate. There have been a few movies that do something like that.
Yeah, like, they don't show you the payoff, which is kind of weird.
And I hope they don't show the payoff here.
Yeah, like, if there's any kind of, like, yeah, fuck yeah, we did it, that's where they'll gross me out. And I won't know whether or not they did that until, like, 2 hours and 28 minutes into the movie.
And I'm just trying to think, too, like, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of a way they could end it that people won't get a bad impression. Like, maybe if they were just like, we heard from SEAL Team 6, they took him out, and then it just ended. That might be okay. Like, if they add anything after the actual act, it's irresponsible in one way or another.
It's such a delicate kind of balance they need to strike for this to be anything other than kind of upsetting to me. So
and I don't think Catherine Bigelow can do that. Because Near Dark is great, but there's nothing like nice or like careful about it. It's a ridiculous vampire movie.
Okay. Whereas, like, yeah, for some reason 4 years ago she got all this reputation off of Hurt Locker. I just didn't see it. Like, I was like pretty hyped up on that movie based on all the critical feedback and everything. I left that theater completely confused. Like, I was just like, that was kind of okay, but what are you talking about? Like, the type of discussion people were having was just like, this is one of the most important American films about war of all time. Like, this will be studied decades from now. This is so profound.
See, I don't think anybody that had any brain thought that, though. Like, that specifically. People could like it or whatever, and that's totally fine. But, like,
just check some of the like Rotten Tomatoes synopsis or whatever. Like it's just
I don't see how that's an important movie at all, though. Like, there's
I don't
nothing
either.
specifically American even about it.
Yeah, it's just like war is addicting. The soldiers like it or something. It's just like okay, like whatever. That maybe.
Yeah.
What does that have to do with like what is that? That doesn't make me reevaluate any of my stances at all. It was just such a bland thing. Like the main thing. Like it's such a shallow scene to really remember, but it was the only thing I found remotely interesting in the whole movie was that sniper battle.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was just like, oh wow, a movie that actually accounts for like the bizarre distance that this fight is taking place at. That's kind of neat. Like that was the only part I really recall.
Sniper battles have a certain place in my heart all the time, though.
Yeah, like it's what makes Enemy at the Gates like a remotely interesting movie.
I can't even think of Enemy at the Gate anymore without thinking of a conversation we had.
Oh yeah. Yes, there's also some interesting scenes in that movie of a different nature. But anyway, yeah. Zero Dark 30, I am like despite a lot of things in its favor in terms of the cast and everything, I'm extremely skeptical. Like, which is too bad because like there's a lot of movies I really really like this year, and if this just gets kind of those get swept aside in favor of like, yeah, war, we did it, that will just be disappointing. I don't know.
I'm honestly like we can degrade into a digression for hours about this sort of thing. I just hope that there's not a shot and then like a congratulatory like we did it. If there's that, I feel that the human race has failed, and that movie as a medium can no longer be taken seriously as video games.
What?
Sorry, I've been drinking.
Okay,
I don't
dare you film pretend to be as important and relevant as Cart Life. You know,
like kind of like if they do that, it's gonna set film back in quality of like an art medium back a long way in my mind.
Well,
for
it's
taking
just,
any of it seriously.
It's one specific artist. I guess it would be more like if that's what the film elite, like the film critics, think is really important. Yeah, I guess I agree in some sense. Like if they're like, well, we can look at these separate movies, and this one is obviously our favorite. Then yeah, I guess I have.
Well, yeah, I guess that's what I'm getting at, where something like, if you look at video games, Shadow of the Colossus is an art, even though you play through it and the game kind of makes you feel bad for doing these terrible things, and then the payoff at the end is kind of like, yeah, you shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
If that's not art, then how is like, America, fuck yeah, art?
Unironically.
Yeah, unironically. Like when it's something like Team America World Police or whatever, obviously they're doing it satirically and it's great.
I don't know. Yeah, it's just it's definitely a bit of a pickle. I'm not really sure what to make of it, but I'll check it out. We'll have some impressions of it and whatnot. I'll see how it goes. But again, like, not to keep harping on it, but like that newsroom episode just kind of made me think, wow, are they really this tone deaf to how the rest of the world feels about this situation? You know? Like, it's just like, oh, this is obviously the most important story ever. And you're just like, no, it's not.
Which story was it again? This one specifically?
The death of Bin Laden.
Bin Laden, yeah. So
like,
it's reflecting that exactly, almost.
Yeah, there is a key episode in that season that is basically like, oh my gosh, we have like the biggest news story of all, like, ever. And you're just like, really? What is it? We got Bin Laden. Oh my god. And then like, the whole thing is like all these American reporters being like, oh my god. Oh, this is the best. Like, you know, salute our troops, all this stuff about how awesome, like, that whole campaign was, essentially. And it was just like, really? And this is from Aaron Sorkin, like, someone I would perceive as being a pretty liberal media guy.
And a really good writer.
Yeah,
put away politics for a second. Like, that dude knows how to write something, and to think that he would write something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, like, I watched Social Network again this week, and I was like, damn, man, this is awesome. Like, I love this. This is so good at capturing kind of the young generation figuring this stuff out versus like the older generation struggling to keep up and all this stuff. Like, there's a lot of stuff I really love about that movie. But, and I actually started just with American Netflix. I've kind of figured out a way to get access to that business. I started watching The West Wing.
Okay.
And that, like, you know, yeah, like he's got this kind of sharpness to him that, yeah, to see it so weirdly misapplied I was really, really confused. Like, I'll still check out that show when it comes back, but that was a really bad way to finish out that season. Like, the last 2 or 3 episodes kind of mentioned that stuff in a weird way.
Let's get off America for a second.
Yeah, sorry, America. It's not all of you, man.
I want to talk about Canada.
Okay.
Because I've been revisiting, like, I watched the show when it was airing on TV every week or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I've been revisiting Kenny versus Spenny.
Okay.
Have you seen that show?
No, I've never really sat down and watched it. Like, a friend of mine watched quite a bit of it. I
Okay.
guess South Park guys produced it at some point?
Kind of. Like, I'll go into what the show is, kind of, and the people behind it and all that sort of thing, because for any, like, American listeners or whatever, they very likely might not have seen it. It was very Canadian for a long time, and then when the South Park guys made friends with those guys after watching a few episodes, they had produced it, but it was still on, like, the Game Show Network, so people might not have watched it even then.
Okay.
Stuff like that. Basically, it's a show with these two people, Spencer Rice and Kenneth Hotz, Spenny and Kenny, and they're roommates together. They tried to get into, like, the movie business back a long time ago. They had a script that they were shopping around and actually did a documentary on it, which I watched just today, called Pitch. And it was back from 97, and they basically took a camera guy around as they were shopping the script around and, like, all the stuff they put up with and that sort of thing.
Uh-huh.
And anyways, this is essentially them having competitions with each other because they're roommates or whatever, and filming it in a Jackass style. So, sorry, I'm getting it mixed up in my head right now. Like I said, the alcohol has probably been affecting me a little more than it should be.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's a Canadian TV show they did in, Toronto. That's where they're from. And yeah, they just have these weird competitions. Basically, the winner gets to choose a humiliation for the loser, which would usually be a very public affair or whatnot. I'm trying to think of specifics right now, but they're not coming yet. And these weren't necessarily...
Like, would it be, like, weird eating contests and stuff, or...
Okay, like, I'll name you off a few of these.
Okay.
Who is the better parent? Who is the better boxer? Who has the biggest balls? Who can stay naked the longest? First one to be mean loses. Who can make a better porno? Who can produce more semen?
Okay.
First guy to get a boner loses. Yeah, so it's very like if like you were living with like a childhood friend in a house, it's very reminiscent of stupid little competitions you would have with your buddies. Maybe not like the boner thing or anything like that, but like stupid little things like who can get here first and stuff like that, taken to an extreme with two grown men. Like one of them's like who can eat more meat, so they just like go all out. Now the thing with this show though is that Kenny usually resorts to weird, like clever contraptions or ideas to make him win, so he kind of cheats.
Yeah.
Whereas Spenny tries to take the higher road, and he does it honestly and usually loses.
Okay.
And
kind of like Goofus and Gallant type stuff at one point.
Yeah, so like, I guess in a way, I used to like it back in the day, and I always liked Spenny because I like the idea of the underdog who knows he's going to lose because he doesn't cheat, still going the honest way and trying to win. And now watching it, I really appreciate the stuff that Kenny does because it's really devious and ridiculous a lot of times. Like in the one, like who can produce more semen, he does something kind of gross and radiates Spenny, so he can't like produce semen.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like it gets to a point where it's kind of disturbing in some parts. In another one, he convinces Spenny that his mom is dead. So like, yeah, I don't know. Like he's just kind of a dick to Spenny the whole time.
Okay. Like, do you know if this is, like, legit, or was it scripted, or...
It's legit.
Okay.
Like, parts of it are scripted, because obviously you can't do some crazy stuff. There's one in specific where he doses Spenny with LSD.
Okay.
I can't tell if that's a writing gag, or if he actually did that, because he is the type of person to actually do that.
Mm-hmm.
This show, though, like, it's funny. It's not, like, taken seriously or whatever. But for now, I can appreciate the stuff Kenny does because it's like obviously he's doing this for comedic effect, and he's doing it so people watch the show or whatnot. Because if it was just two people competing on even ground, not cheating, there wouldn't be any fun to that. Because it's just like watching two people sit around not wanting to get a boner. Like, there's nothing fun about that. But like, when you have Kenny around doing these like ridiculous things to try to make Spenny get a boner or like whatnot, or like making himself have the bigger fart and just shit like that, that's actually funny and stuff to watch. But thinking on it, I still like Spenny better because I like the idea that he doesn't take himself down to a lower level, and I've been watching interviews and stuff with them and whatnot since I've been doing this, and Spenny is definitely under the impression that no matter what, he wins all the time. And then people are like, well, you have to do the humiliation. He's like, who gives a shit? Like, I didn't take myself down to his level, so I won. And just stuff like that. It's like kind of intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, excuse me, if you want like basic idea here, wins, Kenny wins 59, like out of all of these, Kenny's win-loss scenario, or whatever statistics, is he has 59 wins, 23 losses, and 5 draws. And Spenny has 23 wins, 59 losses, and 5 draws.
All right.
Yeah,
Damn.
so...
That's on Netflix too, right?
3, 4, and 5 are on Netflix.
The first seasons aren't?
However, Kenny did an AMA recently, and he basically said that he's pissed off with networks or whatever because they keep picking them up, dropping them, or whatever. And since they're not on contract right now, he released everything for free on YouTube.
Oh wow! Okay.
So then people are like even asking him like, where could I get the DVD? He said, fuck the DVD, just watch it on YouTube like everyone else.
Okay.
Stuff like that. So yeah.
Do you know what these two dudes have gone on to do? Post that or?
Yeah, Kenny tried to do a few projects that were similar. One was called Triumph of Will or whatever, of the Will. Mm-hmm. And it was basically him doing the same idea, only people would give him challenges and he would try to do them.
Okay.
Almost like a Man versus Food thing, only with everything.
Right.
I'd never actually watched it. And then another one called Testes that I don't know what that's about. But where you might recognize Kenny if you've never seen him ever before is he played the other Zach in Zach and Miri Make a Porno that he talks to at the college or the high school reunion. He's like the other Zach.
I've seen that movie twice, so I would have seen him. I just wouldn't have known he was anybody. But okay.
Yeah.
Guess
sorry.
Since my Mega 64 love, I might actually be able to appreciate things about this. Like if you've ever seen one of their Christmas episodes.
I actually just watched their latest one last night.
Yeah, like just them kind of doing weird, gross stuff and pushing themselves too far and whatever. Like there might be something to appreciate here.
See, the thing is, there is stuff to appreciate here. It is ridiculous. It is kind of fun to watch, and it's funny and whatnot. And it's like the classic Odd Couple thing where this guy is crazy and goofy and totally egotistical and ridiculous, and this guy's very clean and neat and just doesn't want to be bothered and do things the right way. But when it gets to stuff like I said, he irradiates him with like radiation, like that's gross. Yeah. And the fact that they're actually friends and stuff, like they're not even friends right now, apparently, anymore. And like Spenny says it's because after spending like 10 years together or whatever, they just got sick of each other. But I think Spenny has like on record, he has had to have therapy after this show. Mm-hmm. Stuff like that because of some of the crazy shit that Kenny has done to him. And it just brought up this weird thought in my mind that if this sort of thing goes on television, like that's kind of a gross thing for people to watch because a lot of people actually love Kenny more than Spenny. Right, and that's gross. The fact that people like the guy that cheats and like talks to his friend terrible and like does terrible things to his friend just to win. That's disgusting that people like him more. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's just a weird thing that's been in my mind lately. And, like, I don't know. I don't know how people stay friends working together, let alone doing a show where you're constantly in competition with each other.
Yeah. Like, if it's legit, I'm super skeptical of reality television in all forms now, but if you're saying it's pretty much on the level.
like, they admit there are some things that were a little scripted, and that's usually because the studio wouldn't air it if it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, if they were actually going to do it, like, the studio, like, there'd be lawsuits and stuff like that. But for the most part, it is totally legit. So, I don't know. Just knowing that, it makes it a little harder to watch, and sometimes... I don't like how people treat Spenny either, because, like, he loses a lot, and he's the guy that takes the higher path in his mind or whatever. He is kind of whiny, though, and, like, kind of annoying in that regard. Mm-hmm. But, like, I've read his Twitter feed, and people will just say, like, you fucking suck, you faggot, and shit like that to him for no reason.
Wow.
And then he just takes in a stride, he's like, love you too, and just stuff like that. So, like, he's used to people just hating on him, and I don't understand that at all. That's gross.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I guess more than anything, I don't like the type of people.
What network does this air on here? Like,
does it air on now? None.
No, but I mean, like, back when it came out, I remember I saw ads for it, but was it like CBC, CTV?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, since it was produced in Toronto, it's a very Canadian show, so it was on CBC for a while, for a year, I think. It was basically on MTV, then the USA Network, then CBC, then Showcase, then Comedy Central after Matt and Trey got in on it.
Oh, okay.
They got in on seasons 4 and up, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it must have been during the CBC era. I'm assuming that was like past 10 p.m. or something.
Yeah.
That just speaking about Canadian television in general, did you ever watch Made in Canada?
Oh, that sounds familiar.
It was like, for me, it was like Rick Mercer's most interesting project.
Oh, Rick Mercer. Yeah, I probably ignored it because I hate Rick Mercer.
Fair enough, but I just remember he did kind of this sitcom like about 14 years ago that was kind of just riffing on the television industry and stuff, and I remember vaguely positive things about it. It was called The Industry in the States. I guess they've been broadcasting reruns or something down there, but yeah, if you haven't seen it, that's fine. Anyway,
I remember the Rick Mercer report.
Yeah,
the guy's not funny.
I guess I haven't really watched it in a long time.
And he did that Talking to Americans thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Rick Mercer, man.
Rick Mercer. And Mike Bullard. Remember Mike Bullard?
No.
Really? Okay.
I don't think so.
He did Open Mic with Mike Bullard.
Okay.
It was like, oh, I don't know. He's just the most unfunny comedian I've ever seen, and unfortunately he's Canadian.
Yeah, some of our Canadian comic personalities aren't the best. But...
Like, I'm trying to think of any that are really, really good.
Well, I mean, like, they kind of transition at that point, right? Like, you know, like, hey, Jim Carrey, technically. And you're just like, well, but yeah, not really. You know, he moved. Dan Aykroyd.
I guess, like, Russell Peters is one now. That's in the spotlight a lot. Mm-hmm. He was funny before the whole charade went up, and that, like, his comedy is the same joke every time with different races.
Yeah, pretty much. He was in Source Code basically just as himself.
Yeah. Like, yeah. I don't know. Jay Baruchel's okay. If we go actors, comics, like funny movies, I guess. Mm-hmm. He was in My Hometown. Do you remember My Hometown?
No?
Yeah, you probably shouldn't. That show is really garbage. But yeah, okay. He's in that. Sean McJumper or whatever. He's not funny. He was on YTV for a while, which is also Canadian.
Okay, yeah.
Remember PJ Katie's Farm?
I think I've heard the name, but I don't really... It doesn't stand out.
The VJs?
Oh, vaguely again. That is another thing. YTV VJs.
I watched the shit out of YTVO.
Okay.
You don't even know.
I don't know very much about it. Do you want to
elaborate? No, not really. Kid programming.
That was a show.
Uh-oh, yeah.
That was a real show. Sorry, just in light of talking about like comic Canadian personalities, I brought back. I tried watching Blues Brothers 2000.
It's so bad.
It's just so unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember like as an 11 or 12-year-old, I was like, oh, whatever, this movie's fine. Watching it again, it's just like, why is this? It's just so redundant. They sing the same songs. They basically go about setting up the same thing to happen. where they're just being chased by a bunch of people they pissed off. Like, it just... I don't know. It's a worthless movie. It's almost a remake.
Totally unnecessary. Totally.
Yeah. Despite, like, you know, I still like Dan Aykroyd and John Goodman and stuff, but it doesn't matter.
The definition, if you will, of a cash cow.
I guess.
Trying to cash out on the name.
It's too bad. It's really too bad. I don't know.
I know something fun.
Yep.
I have the 2013 Producers Guild Awards nominations.
Oh, no.
Do I
Okay.
go through this quickly?
Why? Why did you choose this review? Like, this reward thing?
Because I had it open already.
Okay, just because, like, I know there's a lot of critics circles going around handing out awards and stuff, but why? What are these people seeing fit to...
Okay, so we'll just do feature films, I guess.
Okay.
Argo.
Yeah, okay.
Beasts of the Southern Wild.
I've heard of that. I've heard good things.
Django Unchained.
Sure, okay.
Les Miserables.
Really? For what?
Feature film.
Okay.
Life of Pi.
Yeah, it was okay.
Lincoln.
Yeah. First one, I'm like, hell yeah.
Moonrise Kingdom.
Lame. Alright. He's made the same movie like 8 times. Come on.
Silver Linings Playbook.
Alright, I thought that movie was forgotten, but I guess I was wrong.
Skyfall.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's amazing to me. James Bond getting his due?
Yeah, it's
know.
only been like 50 years. Boy,
50
I'm glad.
years. And they finally got it right. No, I don't know.
Zero Dark 30.
Alright.
I don't know
Where's
how you could even
Looper?
consider Zero Dark 30 if it's coming out in theaters this Friday.
It must have played in New York and Los Angeles, dude. Or whatever it is. That's kind of what they do.
That's so lame, though.
It's pretty lame. It's kind of lame that, you know, for normal people, they can't really consider it one of the best movies of this year, but... Or whatever. Any of the movies of this year.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
So
Lincoln
it's
is
the
really
clear
good.
winner in your head.
Lincoln's my favorite.
Okay, how about animated film? We have Brave, Frankenweenie, Paranorman, Rise of the Guardians, and Wreck-It Ralph.
Paranorman. That one almost made my list. It was in my
Did it not make your list?
It was close. I had to cut a lot of stuff. Like, there was a lot of movies I felt pretty good about. And trimming it down to 10, I had to cut a lot.
I added Looper to my list.
Okay.
Because after watching it and talking about it here, and then thinking a little bit more about it, I was like, yeah, this is the right choice. I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
And put it on there somewhere. So, there's that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wreck-It Ralph is not on my list, even though I enjoyed that.
It is not on my list either. But if you've heard me talk about it, no
you
surprise.
You didn't enjoy it, yeah.
Yeah, it was Frankenweenie as well. Like, just
Paranorman isn't on my list either because I don't know what I would kick off for it.
Yeah, I that's kind of the thing. It got to a point where it's like, I basically had to be like, would I own this? Would I watch this multiple times?
It could be at the point where it's like, what would I sacrifice to watch this again? Like, if I couldn't watch another one of these movies, what would I rather watch in its place?
Yeah, it got pretty tough. Like, it got kind of brutal trimming that stuff down.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, that's a good problem to have. That means there's a lot of good stuff out there. Yeah. Video games similarly, I guess, but there's still a few that I don't know. I kind of wish I got to go through and let them gestate a bit. Like, I'm enjoying Binary Domain. I played a bit more of that today.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't know. Like, it's kind of right in the middle of it, so I don't know if it'll make the cut. Same with Dust. Like, I like what I've played. I've played probably 2.5 hours or something, but I don't know. It's kind of too late now.
Yeah, video games was harder for me because I still, like, it's written up in my mind. It's done. And I'm still debating. So, I don't know. I played a lot of games this year. I played a lot of games in the last 2 weeks to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Kart Life should be on there, but I don't know where.
Oh yeah, Kart Life was a late addition to me, but
it's a late addition for me too. But I don't know what I would kick off for it. I'm thinking I'm going to kick off XCOM for it.
Okay.
So I might have to wait until tomorrow to make my list live so I can write up on Cart Life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure XCOM is getting the boot. Like, Far Cry 3 is on there too, and that's only because even I was expected not to really care as much.
Yeah.
And then playing it, I'm just like, this is enjoyable enough that I want to sink more time into it.
But isn't that kind of the same boat as, like, Borderlands 2 or something then? Like, where it's enjoyable, but, you know, whatever.
It does enough things new, kind of, like I said, the thing with Far Cry 3 specifically is it does a lot of things that have been done before, but mixes them enough that it's all those things in one, just not a master of any of them.
Mm-hmm.
So in that regard, it's like, well, I want to go hunting now. Now I want to do this. Now I want to do this, and I can do all of that in one game. And that's fine, but like I'm not overly fulfilled with like any one particularly. But the fact that there's so much variety that like without having to switch a disc or turn the system off, I'm happy enough with that. But like I don't know, that is also a really hard one in my mind. Like that's ready to be cut at any time as well.
Okay.
It's just I haven't found another game to take that yet. Like maybe XCOM would take that position.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't played. I played like 8 hours of Far Cry 3 in 2 days, and I played like 2 hours of XCOM in a week since having it. I just don't want to go back to it.
I guess just kind of reflecting back on stuff I was thinking when we were talking about XCOM, like it could be described as a strategy RPG, right?
Yeah, I guess more strategy than RPG though.
Okay, it's just I just read a brief snippet of an article suggesting there is a large contingent of people who look on Final Fantasy Tactics as one of the best things that's ever happened. Are you one of them?
No.
Okay.
Should
I'm
I
not
be?
either, and I don't understand what's going on. But okay.
I mean, I guess I could understand that, but I mean, I don't want to say it because it sounds really snooty.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I play enough video games where any one specific thing is not enough to impress me really anymore.
Yeah, it kind of has to calm. Like, actually, yeah, that like looking at binary domain, that's kind of one of the things that sets it apart for me. Like, because there's
Because
a
it
lot
impresses you, even though it's an old, tired game.
yeah, like people are dismissing it as like, oh well, Gears of War already exists, right? And you're just like, yeah, but
It doesn't have its personality.
Yeah, I don't care about the characters or the story, whereas this is investing some resources there, and I'm actually interested in it. Like, there was a level I just played that was almost the same kind of conceit as a Gears of War level. Like, you're in in Gears, you're in mine carts.
Mhm.
And in Binary Domain, you're in kind of this weird little security tram, and you're kind of hiding in it and ducking out and shooting robots and stuff. Thing is, I just like the sci-fi aesthetic and everything that's going on in Binary Domain so much more.
You're real close to the end.
Oh, really?
You're getting there, yeah.
I'm on a train now.
You're at the part that we were at.
Yeah, I just realized I was at the I've met up where we were.
Oh, sorry, you're still maybe about 2 hours away then.
Okay, but regardless, I'm just saying, like they've kind of set up enough stuff in place where I'm just like, I think this is just more interesting. Like, I don't care if technically speaking, it doesn't have active reload. If you really pay attention to it, the enemy AI isn't as sharp or something. It's just like, oh, that doesn't matter. The point is, I am invested in this experience, and I don't care about this other one.
See, Binary Domain's weird for me because it's a tired old formula that it uses for its gameplay. The story isn't amazing in it by any regards, but it's interesting enough. But it has a certain thing about it that I can't really explain why I like it, which is enough to make me really like it. Like, I like it when I can't explain why I'm drawn to something specifically. Maybe it's just a mixture of everything, the way they do it or something. But, like, if I'm gonna, like, all of a sudden, say a new Gears of War comes out, it's not my game of the year or whatever, I know what I'm gonna say about it. Like, Gears of the War. Yeah. Gears of War, back then, blah, 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 did a lot of great things for the genre, and a lot of things copy it today. This is no exception. It's just more of the same, but that same is great, blah, blah, blah. With Binary Domain, it's literally like, dude, I don't know why I like this game. I just do. And that's enough for me to really be intrigued by it, to try to look into it more. But I don't know if I have a real answer of why like someone should play Binary Domain. It's just a lot of little things. Like the characters are neat, have a weird personality. The whole game has a weird personality. I like the setting.
I do like I legitimately though I like the pacing of their campaign. Like it keeps things going in a way. Like for example, it kind of conjured up in my brain as I was playing it. Like this is what Resident Evil 5 screwed up.
The pacing.
The pacing of it. You know, like 4 had a really tight shooter campaign. 5 just didn't know how to do anything. Like, it was just like, now you fight a giant bat, I don't know, and now there's a giant troll, I guess. Like, it just kind of threw things at you willy-nilly. Like, it didn't really put much thought into the arc of how that thing goes. Whereas this kind of just peppers up its core shooting with enough little set-piece moments and kind of, you're in a car and this robot's driving and you gotta kind of deal with this crazy chase. But at the same time...
you met Kane.
Yeah, I met Kane, and I enjoy Kane.
Yeah.
And it invests like so much time in kind of like you can talk to your characters. I don't know, like even though that stuff's breaking like all the time, I have the voice options selected.
Yeah.
And it's just I don't know what's going on. Like it just calls Faye all the time. Like I'll just be playing, and it's just like, why are you calling me? I literally did not press L2. I don't know why it did that. Like it's just it's not working right. It's kind of bugging, but at the same time. I like that there is at least a way to speak to the game. For some reason that makes it interesting to me. Like I can just kind of yell at those characters if I want to, and it actually has feedback for me. Instead of just like, Dom, why are you such an idiot? He'll never talk to you, because it doesn't matter. Whereas here it's like, fuck, Bo, what are you doing? And it'll probably get totally confused and be like, what? Why do you say thanks? But at least it kind of acknowledged my presence. I don't know.
Or like when you're in a firefight and you say something, it's like, we'll talk after, Kay?
Yeah, it does that a lot.
I know, it's really funny.
Yeah, some about it just doofily, I think that's great that the game is at least acknowledging that someone is on the couch talking to it. And for some, that kind of is a weird bonus point for me. And I like some of the weird details. Like, I shot off a robot's foot, and it hobbled around really weird. And... you know, hey, good job. That's a neat little attention to detail. Robots are kind of an interesting enemy that haven't been done to death.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's almost just refreshing to be like, I'm shooting robots. There's no zombies in sight.
Well, I was going to say, what did you think of the zombie parts?
Are there zombies in it?
Kind of.
Well, are they just kind of hollow children?
The hollow children that just aimlessly run at you.
I haven't gotten there yet, so...
You should have by now.
I don't remember...
The sewers?
I was in the sewers. Oh, those weird kind of like ape men.
Yeah, kind of.
I looked at those as kind of like weird ape robots. I wasn't bothered by that.
Oh, we're thinking of different stuff. Sorry. Okay, keep playing. We'll talk later about it.
Okay, if they go in kind of a more overt zombie direction, that kind of sucks.
Well, it's hollow children that they threw out.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
That just like get up and run at you. That's all they do.
Well. Alright, but like just the core conceit of like the way they shoot apart is different.
I'm also saying that like they're not technically zombies, and it's just one like 10-minute part of the whole game.
Okay.
So I think it might still be okay.
And like there's a dumb jet ski level. Like there's just stuff they throw at you that's at least trying to spice it up some.
When you're sliding down that building or whatever at the beginning. Yeah,
the beginning part was kind of neat. Like I was like initially. When you're, like, it's cutscene and you're sliding, I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. But then it's like, no, this is a level. Like, you're going to slide and avoid stuff. And I was like, good job. Like, thank you for letting me interact with this thing.
And the spider boss?
The spider boss happened.
Spider boss is pretty badass looking.
Some of those bosses, like, I'm on easy mode, so it's not killing me, but I've let those drag on a bit. Like, this last one, I was trying to shoot out 4 engines on this big thing. And
the one chasing you? On the car?
No, it was just kind of flying around over this gas plant kind of area.
Okay, I don't.
You need to collect Stinger missiles and shoot at it, and I kept running.
Yeah.
Took forever, but at the same time, for some reason, I wasn't too annoyed with it, despite it being kind of like there's a long, protracted reloading animation. You have to shoot stuff to get ammo. Like, it took a while, but I don't know. It didn't bother me.
But then it makes it all better in the end, where Big Bo's like, "We barely made out that one, huh?" And you're like, "Shit." He's like, "I know, right?"
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that exchange did not go that well, but something like that.
No, but I mean, like, the things they say don't make any sense in context at all. It's like, what do you think? Damn.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't think you put it that way. Just, like, random.
Yeah. It tries to account for it, but it's definitely problematic. But again, I just kind of thought it was a good idea.
I'm wondering if that's, like, something in translation, maybe?
Like some Japanese issues.
Maybe?
Yeah. I haven't played like a good Japanese thing in a while either, so that might also be helping its case.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I have Dragon's Dogma in the mail. I'm curious about that one.
Yeah, I'd like to see that one for myself. I loved the demo.
Like I haven't really played it either. It's just more idle, like just discussion about it is like Japan tried to make Skyrim and kind of did it wrong, but in their own kind of unique Japanese way. Where
Well, yeah, they made a Japanese Skyrim, which people are like, no, that's not how you.
Yeah, whereas like I might be like, yeah, this is really weird or something.
Because it's like how they try to make like a Japanese version of like a hack and slash, and they make Dynasty Warriors or something.
Mm-hmm.
People are like, no, this isn't what you do. But then other people are just like, no, this is exactly what you do. You throw everybody at you and you kill them all.
It almost makes me like think back on like maybe I just played Lost Planet 2 wrong. You know?
Lost Planet 2 is better than Lost Planet 1, so I don't know if that accounts for anything.
See, like I felt differently, but at the same time, I didn't play that much Lost Planet 1. I just basically heard Lost Planet 2 was if you're playing this cooperatively, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
If you're not, you fucked up.
If you're not playing cooperatively, you shouldn't play it.
Exactly, and I was like, oh, whatever. I picked this up for $40 at Walmart. Let's see what this is, and I was just messing around with it for a weekend, and I was kind of playing it the same way
with the AI.
With the AI, because like
Gross.
you know how Dead Rising 2 defaults to like dudes drop into your game, and
nope,
I
never played Dead Rising 2.
Okay, Dead Rising 2 does that where it's like co-op, dude, and I was like, no, I don't want to do that. Lost Planet 2 does that too, and I did the same thing. Apparently, I screwed up because I should have actually been working with dudes.
Yeah, because like I played quite a bit of that game. I rented it though, and I played the first boss with AI.
Yeah,
and it was the worst experience I ever had because the AI didn't know those boss encounters were made for 4 people with 4 different brains doing different actions.
Yeah, it's you're kind of assigned a specific goal, and if you're just one of those key figures, you can't.
You're screwed. Really... Yeah. So that boss fight took way too long, and then I played it again with 2 other people jumping into my game.
Yeah.
And we like owned it instantly.
Oh, okay.
So
that's what the satisfying part of that game was.
What do you have it on?
Oh, I got rid of it, dude.
Okay.
That's
I was gonna say I might pick it up if you have, and we'll play through because it's like $5 now.
Like I did buy it, but I traded it in almost immediately to get that back.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, yeah, it was that time when, like, remember Walmart was doing kind of this thing for a while where new games were $40.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, that was one of that, and I'm pretty sure I got 35 or 40 back for it. So I was like, all right, I basically broke even on this gamble.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm good with that.
Is Spec Ops the line on your top 10?
No.
Yeah.
Despite
anybody's.
It was on Greg Kasavin's. It was his number 10.
Go figure.
He did kind of hesitate doing that because he did work on it for a while, but I felt he justified it okay.
Yeah.
Lone
Survivor is another one I wanted to work in somewhere.
Lone Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I...
Yeah, you have played it.
What?
It's that pixel-based, side-scrolling, almost like Resident Evil 2 game.
Oh, yeah. I just didn't get very far.
Yeah.
But okay. Like Silent Hill-esque, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I probably should have played more of that.
Was Journey on your top 10?
It ended up drifting more and more down, but I think it's like number 9 or something now. Number 10, maybe.
Hmm.
I still found parts of it really, really invigorating, so I think that might be one though. I'm gonna play one more time before I really commit to it.
Yeah.
Like maybe tonight. Like literally, I might just go through it again. Like I have that disc sitting here now, so I'll go through some That Games Company stuff. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
I still like surfing on those sand dunes. Just got me so enraptured
That
in
part's great. Like,
yeah.
I think I'm maybe a little hesitant now because I watched John play through it again,
Mm-hmm.
and like there isn't a whole lot there. It's like as someone watching it, it's like
Yeah.
I wish I was surfing on sand dunes. And
That's
then
the
like,
thing with games though. Like,
but like other than that, like nothing else in that game made me remember like, oh yeah, I want to do this part again.
okay.
So that alone is like, it had that one great part, and without the online aspect, like we were even online for a half an hour, 40 minutes before we got kicked off,
Yeah.
and nobody entered.
Well,
So-
that's because like everyone's kind of seen it already, right?
right.
Like,
So like in the same light as Fez, I think it was probably a zeitgeist thing that just you won't be able to relive again, and that's really kind of sad.
yeah, like the most interesting component of that game is probably lost now in a way, which is weird.
Like it's the same thing. I was thinking back. I loved SOCOM back on the PS2 when that came out.
Yeah.
There's no way I could revisit that ever. So it's just
Like, yeah, that game you played effectively doesn't exist anymore.
which is weird because like
Or like
I
what
think a
my
game
time with
should
Metal Gear
always
Solid
exist.
Online.
because like I can plug in Mario and have the
Mhm.
same great time I had back then. So in a way, it kind of cheapens the experience when part of the core experience was something that no longer exists. Like it just makes it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being bitter about it.
Well, it's such a weird thing that's unique to like online games, right? Like,
Mhm.
like with some of them, they become kind of this weird, like immortal thing. At least so far, like Counter Strike 1.6 still exists. People play it. You can jump in.
Yeah.
But eventually something like EverQuest or even WoW, give it a decade or something.
Oh,
might
dude.
just-
If we want to get into WoW,
yeah.
like,
Effectively, actually, the WoW I played doesn't even exist anymore.
dude, the WoW you played didn't exist the like weekend you uninstalled it. It changed that next week.
Okay.
There's a patch every second Tuesday.
And it totally revamps it?
It usually adds more stuff or whatever, but okay.
I mainly mean what happened with Cataclysm. Like how it's just like the world
Oh yeah, like the game itself as like a thing,
Yeah.
it no longer exists for sure.
Yeah. So like that's where I'd kind of take weird issue or at least arch an eyebrow at someone kind of like if someone was to do like best games of the decade thing. Like actually they did that at the Spike Game Awards.
Yeah, they did.
Like WoW was one of the top ones and it's just like, "Oh, that game doesn't exist anymore, guys." That's kind of weird. Like you can't honor a thing if it's no longer there. Like that's just kind of a weird thing to do. Like that's something that differentiates it from movies. Like you can never have the same experience you had seeing a movie for the first time or whatever, but
Right,
you can
like
still
21 Jump Street jumps to mind automatically because you watched it
yeah.
with friends or whatever in a theater and everybody was
Crowd.
laughing.
Yeah, and actually it's been a thing I've been thinking about. Like I've been like, "Man, I really like Mission Impossible 4, but I only want to see that movie on a giant IMAX screen and I can never do that again."
Right.
So if I was to watch it at home on Netflix, I would have a worse experience because it's not the ideal way to see it. It's kind of a weird thing. Like that's kind of why I'm like looking forward to initiatives like there's this Blu-ray film festival that the theaters do here
Okay.
where they kind of just come up with a list of like a bunch of older movies that they're going to put in theaters, and I love that because it's just like, first of all, it's like $5. But second, it's like that's what these movies were actually designed for. Like to see Jaws in a theater full of people,
Mhm.
that's the correct way to see it. That's what it was. It was meant to be that kind of experience with like a whole crowd. Some of them scream, and that makes you scream, even though you're not really scared.
Or like 20 years from now, like Prometheus.
Sure, like yeah, like I own Prometheus now on Blu-ray, but I will never have as good of an experience as I did that first week. So it's almost just I bought the special features for Prometheus so I can study and learn about the thing I saw.
Right.
Like, if I am to watch it again, it will never be as interesting because it's just not as big and overwhelming.
This
Like,
talk depresses me.
yeah, unless you like, but I mean, at the same time, you could set up a sick home theater, and eventually you can have it closer.
I'm not talking about the movies.
Oh, you're talking about games
I'm
fading?
kind of talking about everything fading. Because,
Mhm.
like, you can never have that great experience you had the first time again with anything.
Yeah. But, like, there's some movies I can actually go back to, and I'll have a different experience, but it'll still be a good one.
Right. And that's
Like,
totally fine.
I'll notice a new layer to it. Like, I'm really looking forward to seeing 2001: A Space Odyssey in a theater. Like, that's one I was most intrigued by, because I wasn't alive in 1968, but I'm told that's the best way to see that movie, and I've never seen it that way. So even though I've seen that movie like 3 times, now I'll see it differently. And
I guess, like, things I'm talking about is, like, I'll never play Mass Effect 1 for the first time again and spend all night just talking to people, finding out about this new alien race.
Mhm.
Or I'll never play Borderlands 2 with 3 of my other friends all night again for the first time, because we're, like, exploring this new world.
Right.
Just stuff like that. Like, if we want to get even more specific, like, I still kind of, almost like a drug addict, I still go to WoW for that every now and then.
Mhm.
And, like, I want that experience of being in this, like, top tier raiding guild and logging on and doing all this stuff and talking to these people across the world everywhere again. And, like, all just having a sort of, like, camaraderie like you have at PAX or whatever, because everybody's there for a certain thing.
Yeah.
Like, you all share one thing in common. And, like, that'll never happen again. Just stuff like that. Like, it's really kind of depressing.
I mean, not in that context, but like there'll be new multiplayer games and new takes on it and stuff. Like, that'll happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's just kind of
I'll never play Hotline Miami for the first time again.
That's true.
I figured I would relate it to you a little bit more.
Or you know, even stuff like narrative heavy stuff. Like, I just Ghost Trick. You know, like that game has a very specific story, and you'll just never have the same revelation at the end again. But you know what? That's just how stories work, right? I don't know. That's like what Eternal Sunshine is all about. That movie. If you forget, is it worth it? You know? I should watch that again. I remember liking it.
I'll never get to see Batman and Robin in theater. Oh, wait, that's a good thing.
Yeah, see, it goes both ways. There's silver lining there.
It actually does go both ways if you think about it, because, like, there are things like Indie Game the Movie that the more I watch them, the more into it I am, because I have better... Like, I watched Indie Game the Movie again kind of recently, because I've been going through this thing where I've been going through all the Destructoid podcasts, and one of them they talked to Jonathan Blow.
Oh, okay.
So having a somewhat newfound respect for what he has to say about stuff, and then watching Indie Game the Movie again changes that movie in that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, so stuff like that, it could be for the better.
Actually, yeah, like that's kind of what I mean. Like, if you invest in a thing, you can kind of dig new stuff out of it. Like, after watching that Kubrick documentary, watching his movies again it had a different tone to it. It had a different thing going on. And, like, yeah, Jonathan Blow, the same thing kind of happened with me and Clint Hawking. Like, I read a bunch of his blog posts and stuff, and then reading interviews with him and playing Far Cry 2 again kind of was like, oh, I see it now. Interesting. You know, like, there actually is something there. So I guess I do really like it when artists are very transparent and willing to talk about their things. That's kind of that's kind of one of my weird issues. Like, because I grew up loving. Well, I had a phase a couple years where I was like, the Coen Brothers are the best thing that's ever happened. Thing is, they're total assholes when it comes to actually talking about their stuff. Like,
it's the same with John Lennon, to the point where I don't respect John Lennon as a human being.
Was he very kind of closed about that stuff? Or,
you know, there was a recent thing I saw on Reddit that actually reinforced this in my mind. Like, I always knew he was kind of standoffish and whatnot, and kind of like the artiste or whatever.
Yeah.
And, like, I enjoy his music, not enjoyed, I still do. And so you choose to kind of forget stuff like that, but then, like, someone on Reddit posted an interview someone did with him when he was with Yoko or whatever, and he's just a total douchebag.
Mm-hmm.
And like the Reddit comment was something like, back like 10 years ago or whatever, this was John Lennon sticking it to the man, and now it's like a brilliant new journalist trying to futile attempt at teaching a pop star something about the war,
Oh, okay.
or something like that. And just like, yeah, so there is that sort of thing too, where when sometimes where an artist talks, you just kind of are like, eh.
Well, right, but like at least they're doing it, you know? Like,
Yeah.
like I'd rather at least have something to go off of other than like rather than nothing at all. Like,
Mhm.
like that's kind of why I really appreciate commentary tracks. Like, specifically, there was a Blood Simple, one of the Coen Brothers' first movies.
Mhm.
They on one of the releases of the DVD, they made up a commentary track for it, but it's the most childish, stupid jokes ever.
Okay.
Like I watched I sought out this DVD. I rented it from the Blockbuster I worked at and watched the commentary just because I heard whispers of it. Like it's one of the few commentary tracks they've ever kind of signed off on.
Mhm.
They wrote a bogus script, kind of just making fun of commentaries and movie making and all this stuff, and had an actor read it.
Mhm.
Basically, is what happened, and it brings nothing to the movie. It's just like a total joke. And it's such a stupid joke, though. Like, it's not funny. It's just dumb.
Yeah.
And I like at that point, it's just like, I don't understand. Like, why did you do that? Like, why can't you just talk transparently about your movie? Like, just, you know, hey, we screwed up this part here. We enjoyed doing this. We were like, whatever. Just tell me what's going on. Why do you have to be weird about it? Like, that's kind of like, he's not one of my favorite directors, but I at least appreciate that David Fincher really puts time in that stuff. Like, there's tons of commentaries on every single one, tons of features. If you want to know everything there is to know about Zodiac or Girl with a Dragon Tattoo, he gave it to you. If you don't care, hey, whatever. You don't need to look at it. But I like the transparency.
Yeah.
And yeah, just like it's kind of, I don't like labeling people as like pretentious or whatever, but if people say that about the Coens, I get it, because they kind of are.
Yeah.
You know, like they're just like, we're kind of the best. It's like, you made Lady Killers, shut up, explain why you did that.
Yeah.
Just like, no, we're the best.
Oh, we'll never get to have sex for the first time again. Oh shit, that's probably a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to. Yeah, that's a good thing. Never mind.
Okay.
Yeah, opposite way. I never want to relive that. So there you go.
Water Under the Bridge. That's like a sitcom thing too. About
Water
like,
Under the Bridge?
No, like you never forget your first time or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah. What was your first time?
Hmm?
Explain it in detail.
How was it? It was okay.
No, what was it? How they say you never forget? Like, was it something bad?
It wasn't bad.
Oh.
It was, yeah. Problems I thought I would have, I didn't. Other ones I didn't, I did. You know, stuff like that.
Yeah, this is kind of the same with me. I thought I would finish too early, and it took too long, and it hurt.
Kind of, yeah. Like, I thought it, like, based on films and stuff, I thought it would be really early. That was not the case.
And then it's like, okay, this got kind of boring, and I hurt like hell. Why isn't this working? And then I got worried, and then really, like, self-conscious about it, and then lost it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was bad.
I'm like nodding, but yeah, it's a podcast. But yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's what happens. That's the thing that happens.
That's what happens. So, just like playing Resident Evil for the first time, it just gets better the more you do it.
Actually, oh, okay. Yeah, I will never have that first Resident Evil experience again, because it was so potent that first time. It was the most terrifying thing in the world.
What was your first time with Resident Evil?
It was me and like two friends playing the remake.
Okay.
And like,
was that your first time with this series ever?
I think so.
Like, you didn't even play 2?
No, not at that point. I went back to the N64 version and played 2 eventually.
Okay.
But yeah, like, it was the GameCube remake in like 2002. And it was just so enrapturing. Like, it was just like every single thing was like, oh my god, this is the worst. Like, you can't see what's happening. That redhead, it's going to be a redhead. You got to, like... I don't think I was even playing. I was... Like, it was 3 of us kind of handing the controller around.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like, specifically that, that part where the dog jumps through the glass.
Yeah.
Just the whole room jumped. It was insane. Like, it was, like, the dude playing, like, freaked out and paused the game. And, like, we were just like, oh my god. Like, it was just the most insane, intense moment ever. And then going back to those, like, eventually I like, did a speed run on that game. Like, you just get so numb to it. But, yeah, that first time was pretty insane.
Yeah. Okay, let me recount my first time to Resident Evil. And you've probably heard this somewhere before, especially if any readers or viewers or listeners or whatever have read Tom Bissell's book. Because it's very similar.
Like his description of that, yeah.
The first time I ever saw Resident Evil, I was probably about 10 or 11 years old.
Okay.
We had a thing in Airdrie. I can't remember the name of it now, but basically you could go in there, pay some time, and play any console. They had every console set up on different TVs, and you would choose whatever games from their game library.
Whoa, wait. Was this at Game Dudes?
Game Dudes. Yeah.
Dude, Game Dudes was so awesome.
I
can't
know,
believe
right?
we went to Game Dudes. That was like the best store.
Totally.
I bought Super Star Wars there. Anyways. Wario's Woods came from Game Dudes. Anyway. Okay.
When Game Dudes went under, they sold everything for super cheap, and my friend got like their whole PlayStation 1 library for like $100.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
we're going out for Game Dudes. I loved Game Dudes.
That was such a good place. For anybody that doesn't know, it was basically a whole bunch of TVs set up in a room. Parents would usually in my case, my parents would take me and like friends or whatever there for my birthday before a movie or after a movie or before dinner or whatever. And basically you pay a set amount of money for a set amount of time and you get access to their whole library. They were like a rental store, and you could pick any game off the shelf and play for as long as you wanted and put it down. So that was that. But anyways, the first time ever at Game Dudes, we played Resident Evil, and we were like 11 or whatever. And my friend James was playing it. If you listen back, there's a episode called Jammin' with James. That's the same guy. He put it in, and we were horror fans at this time, so obviously something called Resident Evil was right up our alley. So he put it in, and he was playing through it, and was having a lot of trouble. Like, I was just kind of glancing over because I myself was playing something at the time as well. We were all on different TVs. And then there was one part where everyone crowded around when this zombie sound came up. And the first time we ever saw a zombie represented almost realistically at the time. Like in a video game, and he turns his head around at you, and you can't get away because the controls are so bad. Like, you're not used to this as a kid. So we're all kind of standing around like, run, what are you doing? And stuff. He's like, I can't, or whatever, and then he died. And then, like, our time ran up and whatever. So about a year later, you're able to rent console systems, which my parents did for a weekend because I was like really good or something. They didn't want to spend like $300 on a system they didn't know about. And along with the system, they rented me Resident Evil and Parappa the Rapper.
Okay.
Now I remember this specifically because I had to go to a work dinner with my parents or whatever, with my mom. It was her work's dinner. And, like, they didn't have a babysitter or whatever, so I played Parappa the Rapper before it, and then I started Resident Evil, but then I couldn't save it, and I lost interest in it because I didn't realize there was this whole thing about the memory card. We didn't rent a memory card or anything, so I didn't get to save at all that whole weekend. Like, it was a new thing, because growing up in that generation, you had the NES and the SNES and anything you needed, and the Genesis, it would happen on the cartridge.
I can sympathize with that problem. It's just that totally sucks.
Yeah.
But, okay.
So I started Resident Evil and I died or whatever, and that's fine. And then we went to dinner and then I came back. And that part specifically still is in my mind as the most terrifying thing ever, because that game cripples you in a way that you don't know what's going to happen at that point until it happens, and then it doesn't give you enough control. Like, I got used to the Super Nintendo control at that time. That was the last system I had been playing. And if you wanted to move left, you pushed left on the controller. If you wanted to move right, you pushed right on the controller. Up, and down, down. I wasn't used to this whole thing where, no, you have to turn this way and then push up to run forward or whatever, this 3D space. So the fact that this whole thing is new to you and you feel crippled and unable to do anything, or like if you wanted to shoot a weapon in a video game, you pushed a button and it fired instantly. In this, you had to raise your weapon up, wait for your weapon to be up, and then fire, and then hope it hit. There wasn't a reticle, there was nothing like that. So basically this game, I got thrown into this game that I was uncomfortable with. I didn't know how to move in it. This controller I've never had before, and this feeling that I couldn't save. When I died, I was dead. And there was a zombie, and I couldn't get away from it. And that's why Resident Evil is, to this day, the most terrifying and best game in my mind, because it set the precedent for what video game horror should be. This feeling of complete helplessness, that no matter what, like, if you die, you die. There's no, like, continue. There's no retry. Like,
well, it's just that level of attachment is so much stronger than it could ever be for a movie, you know? Because you aren't that person.
Yeah.
Like, even though it's a character represented on the screen that isn't you, the fact that you have a hand in it, it's immediately more interesting to you. Like, it's like this, like, and that's kind of why video games have gotten away with bad writing for so long, because they have that inherent advantage in a way, you know? Like, you can write a bad character, but it kind of doesn't matter because you are the character, so it doesn't matter. Like, or that's why silent protagonists exist.
Yeah, and I think I have to stress the importance of, with Resident Evil, like, I'm kind of glad we never got the memory card for that weekend.
Right, because it made it a roguelike, kind of.
It made it a thing. Like, that's why, even though I'm not good at it anymore, there was a time I could beat that game in 2 hours with only the knife. Mm-hmm. Like, I knew that game inside and out. I used to, like, have the strategy guide and just kind of, like, read it as I went to the bathroom and stuff, you know what I mean? Where you would just be so into something.
Yeah,
that, like, it was
it's
like,
occupying
every time I picked up the controller for Resident Evil, it was an extension of my brain.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm no longer at that point, obviously, but that's why that series has an unusually high regard in my heart, even though I understand why people might hate it. So, yeah.
Fair enough. Like, I can't really speak to where the series has gone, but it's definitely, its high points have been really, really remarkable.
I'm going to go ahead and say that the story has never been something I cared about, though.
Yeah, but I don't think, like, it really was supposed to initially anyway. Like,
no, probably not.
It's just kind of like, we have a conceit for you to essentially go through a creepy mansion full of stuff, and that's what we really care about. And then it got successful, and they had to make more, and then they kind of had to develop all this stuff. So
Shinji Mikami is my hero. Pour one out.
He's still alive, but
Thank
okay.
God. Even though he made Who Framed Roger Rabbit, right?
What? Like, is there a game?
Well, yeah, the Who Framed Roger Rabbit game, that was Capcom, right? Like, I think he was working at Capcom at that time, back then.
Oh, I don't know. I know Capcom had some pretty awesome licensed stuff back then, but was that not one of them? Or?
No, it was real bad. Really, really, really bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of what's made me interested in some of, what's the new company? Bayonetta people?
Platinum.
Platinum, yeah. Like, I've been meaning to play Vanquish for quite a while, despite hearing kind of mixed things about it. Like, it's just like, that dude's interesting. I'll check that out.
Vanquish has been on my to-play list for 2 years now. Like, it's so bad.
I just booted up the wiki for the game. I'm not seeing his name, but I'm going to check the 1991 game. There's two different ones.
Wait, who?
Shinji Mikami.
No, he was totally in on it, for sure.
Dude, yeah, sorry. He is the lead designer on the Game Boy game.
For Vanquish?
For Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh, I never played the Game Boy game.
Oh, okay.
I played the NES game.
The 1989 one, he was not listed.
Oh,
so,
okay.
It is one of the earliest games he was designer on, was the Game Boy Who Framed Roger Rabbit game.
Okay.
Which that's an interesting bit of trivia that I'm now, like, if I'm at a second-hand store and I see the Who Framed Roger Rabbit game, guess who's going to purchase it? This guy. But whatever.
This guy.
Yeah.
If you can find it for like $5 or under, go for it. If it's 10, don't. Like,
Okay.
I beg you, just don't.
I've bought dumber games for worse reasons, so I don't know, but okay.
Like what?
Specifically Mickey Mania.
For how much?
Actually, I think it was only $5.
Yeah, $5 is fine for anything.
Okay. Oh wait, sorry, Time Lord for $10.
I don't know what Time Lord is.
It's a rare game. John tells me it's not actually good, so I screwed up. But I got the box, so I was happy.
Okay, so it's just kind of one of those things now that's like, yeah, but it's the box.
It's like, yeah, it's complete, dude. So it was worth it.
Who made it?
Yeah. But,
Who made it?
Rare.
Oh, Rare. You did say that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you know how they used to be cool?
Yeah, they were pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so I've been playing Donkey Kong Country games again.
Okay.
Games aren't very good.
Thank you, Paul. Good job. You're right.
Just straight up, they aren't. Like, are you disagreeing? I don't know why you're saying that.
No. See, because, like...
Because you sound like you're maybe mad that I would say that, or like...
No, dude, for serious. Like, I never got into them. I never understood why people are like, oh yeah, some of the best Super Nintendo games ever. It's like...
No, I'm going to go ahead and say Donkey Kong Country 1 is fine for what it did at the time. It did some great things with graphics, and like it...
Graphics.
It pushed... The platforming is fine too, I guess. But like...
Well, it's fast.
It's not great.
It's got smoothness to it, but I never liked how it felt, ever.
You get a weird momentum in Donkey Kong Country 1, though, is what I'm getting at. It's that when you get decent at it, you can just go, and it's very smooth and nice feeling.
Yeah.
Donkey Kong Country 2 and 3 added too many weird obstacles that made you stop, so any, like, good feeling you had from the momentum you would get in the first game no longer exists in the second and third iteration because they try to make it harder. So, therefore, they're worse in my mind.
I never quite found that series compelling. Like, they were not some of my go-to SNES classics. Like, I don't own any of them. I just didn't.
Because when you said "Great Paul, thanks" or whatever, you sounded kind of like a dick.
Oh, no, dude. It's just because, like, I've been kind of like, oh, come on. Like, Donkey Kong Country, like, from, specifically my friend Ryan really likes them, and my friend Ben as well.
You know what? It's totally fair if people like them, but to say that they're objectively great, they're totally wrong.
Okay. Like, they have aged weirdly. Like, they were of note at the time because they.
Well, and the thing is, I even have nostalgia for them, and I'm saying that.
Here's the thing. Yeah, like, I have nostalgia for Super Mario RPG. I tried playing it again. It's not as good as I remember. Like,
I have a bad story with Super Mario RPG.
What happened?
Okay, so I was playing it. I had a little TV in my room at the time.
Yeah.
And I had found these porno magazines in the field behind my house that some kids had obviously thrown away.
This already took a weird turn, but okay.
And so I picked them up and took them home and then used them because I was a kid growing up and like read them and stuff like that and put them under my mattress. I was playing Mario RPG one time and I left one out accidentally. And my father came in, found it, and then gave me shit over it. So now I associate the part where you're at the like wedding for Princess Peach or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's like the giant cake. That part specifically hurts.
Yeah.
Like my brain now. Every time like I get this bad feeling of shame.
Like this weird anxiety happens.
Yeah. Because that was the part I was at when that happened.
Okay. Whereas like I think we got asked a question where it's like, what's one of your favorite RPGs or something? And I said that and then tried playing it again. It's just not that well paced as a campaign and stuff. Like there's a lot of stuff that just isn't interesting. Like at the time it was, again, like it looked visually really cool for the Super Nintendo. Like that kind of universe mashup thing was new and novel at the time. Like, this is pre-Kingdom Hearts everything, so it's like, the Nintendo characters meet Square dudes, what? But now, yeah, I don't know. It's fine. I don't regret having it on, like, Virtual Console or whatever, but it's not one of my top things. That's not the case.
That story made me feel dirty, just remembering it.
Okay.
That was a bad point in my life. I just realized, just thinking about that incident, like, had a profound effect on me to the point where, like, I feel bad, like, dirty right now.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Oh, I'm not worried about it because I'm a grown ass man. And I've done terrible things in my life after that and since then. But damn, I can't ever play that game again. Like, that's weird.
Or you should face your fears and play it again. Just challenge through it.
Maybe. It'll get to that point again, and I'll probably just start crying or jerking off. I can't tell which one. As long as they're not in unison, I guess we're okay, though.
Right. It's just like it's Clockwork Orange type stuff or something, where you just have this weird association with a specific piece of music and a cake, and I don't know.
It totally happens, though. If something happens in your life to one specific thing, that will burn into your memory every time, and it's weird. So, I don't remember anything else that's like that in my history with other media.
Okay.
So,
there's a specific comic book, like a Tintin crab with golden claws, that I associate with the smell of a specific type of Blistex.
Okay.
Which is a specific sensory memory thing. Like, I accidentally got some on the pages, so that just smelled that way.
Uh-huh.
So that story smells like Blistex, which makes no sense.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that's a lot less weird than mine, probably.
Oh no, I know. I'm like, that's as close as I can get to. Or like Resident Evil 2, the soundtrack to that is one of Weird Al's albums. Like that kind of associations, but again, not as traumatic or whatever. Like even like I do have a weird memory of Super Mario, like Super Mario World, where I was playing that game at a friend's house who had like this really angry stepdad. And there was a save file on there where for some reason they had heard somewhere, like this is pre-internet being common, so they heard that if you don't hit the Switch Palaces, you unlock some sort of secret awesome stuff at the end of the game. I don't think that's true.
Okay.
I can't confirm, but I don't think that there's validity to that, but whatever. But we started playing. I was just like, what the hell? Why haven't you hit the Switch Palaces? So I just did them. And they had made it to like World 4 or something without hitting one ever. And we just kept playing happily like we're like 9-year-old kids or something. Dude comes in, like old, like 28-year-old dude or something, sees that we did that and just flips out, hits the eject button on the Super Nintendo, like just with the power on, it just jumps out of the Super Nintendo and he starts yelling. I was just like, what the fuck? And that was like a weird thing with like Super Mario World for a bit, but I played that game subsequently quite a bit and I'm fine with it. But yeah, that was the most traumatic game memory I have of like being caught doing something wrong, but not really.
Yeah.
Because it's just a level. Like I don't think you're right. But like, you know, that weird position where like you're a little kid and you can't really presume to tell an adult that they're wrong, but you know they're wrong.
Yeah.
Like it's just like, oh no, I play Super Nintendo more than you do, sir. That is not actually true. It's like, no, I was just scared. So I was just scared.
There was one incident where Super Mario Brothers 3 had just come out. And we got it, and this was when my dad was still young enough that he didn't, like, he gets bad vertigo when he plays newer games, so he doesn't play games with me anymore.
Okay.
But we played that, like, 2-player where it would be like he does a level, I do a level, or I would lose because I was young, and then he would, like, do the level if it was really hard or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. And we legit got to the 8th world, and there's no save option in that game.
In this NES cart now, yeah.
No. So we left it on, like I would just turn my TV off in my room, because we played it in my room. I had a little TV, the same TV that would be in question later when the event happened.
Yeah.
So we would be playing it or whatever. We got to the 8th world, and I was super excited. And then my brother one day, who was super young, walks in and he turns the game off. And I freaked out, and I beat the shit out of him. Yeah. And I recall that being like the moment that like mine and my father's relationship just like got thrown away.
Oh man.
Or something. Not like in the way like that it's bad today or something, but it just, that's what it felt like at the moment. It's like we spent all this time doing something together, and it just so easily was like lost for no one to see ever. Like this was a thing that we shared together, and you could show something for it. And like my stupid ass brother decided to ruin that, so like I beat the shit out of him, and was
Oh,
just
man.
like mad and like crying because I was young and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was like the worst experience ever. So now every time I play Super Mario Brothers 3, I will like do the like warp zone way, get to the 8th level, and then I'm happy. Like anything after that is fine. It's just every time I see that 8th world, I feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, this is getting weird now. How I'm relating all these things.
Yeah, like I don't have any like specifically like that profound of a thing. It's more just like you brought me back to that weird thing that kind of doesn't exist anymore, where you couldn't save and you had to leave the console on.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was a thing that would happen all the time. Like we'd rent games, start playing them at like 8, and then it's like, dude, it's like 10:30. You gotta go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what? But we made it to the end. Like Magical Quest is one of them, that Mickey Mouse game.
Mm-hmm.
I like got to Pete or something, and I was like, well, I gotta go to bed, so I had to pause it all night.
Yeah. With Magical
then-
Quest, I played it all night, and then when I woke up, I had swimming lessons in the morning,
Mhm.
and I had to leave it on, and I didn't get back to it until later, and after that, I got mad because I lost, like, the feel. You know how you get into a groove and you just know how a game feels?
Yeah.
So this has been a good 12 hours since I had last played it, and I was on the last level, and I wasn't doing as well, so I got frustrated because I was thinking if they had only let me stay up and finish it, I would have been done by now. Like, it would have been fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I died, lost all my lives, and, like, my life was ruined.
Yeah. To be clear, Pete destroyed me. I've never beaten Magical Quest. That's
Yeah.
probably the reason I have it again.
That's exactly where I was, too. I was at Pete.
Yeah. Another one that it was such a weird kind of lost opportunity. Like I remember this came back to me while I was at work for some reason. I was just like, oh yeah. Super Star Wars. I love that game.
Yeah, totally. That game was hard.
Yeah. It was. Eventually I played so much of it that it's no issue. Like I can beat that game, but at the time, this was the first time I'd gotten as far as I did. Like, it was kind of one of those great, weird gaming breakthroughs where you keep dying at the same place over and over, and then you get past that point, and not only that, you get really far. So, like, I made it through the Cantina level, and I had to pause it. I had to go to school. So, I paused it, left it there, came back from school, and I was like, wait, why are all these cars here? And I went back to my room, and there was like a bunch of dudes from like youth group or something. Like my parents had been like, yeah, whatever, you guys can come over, and they were playing Super Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
And like I just walked into the room, and I was just like, oh no, like I was so angry internally. Like these guys just fucked up my game.
And
like,
it's that feeling of just complete helplessness too.
Yeah, it's just like, what? Oh no, why? This is my Nintendo. Yeah. And then I went back to my parents, and they're just like, oh yeah, no, like a bunch of dudes came over, and we told them it was cool if they played some Nintendo. They wanted to play Nintendo. Mm-hmm. And like, you know, in retrospect, it's like that was kind of a great, you know, generation bridge. You know, like older dudes were able to like get wind of Nintendo. Like I could have related to them in some way or something. But at the time, it didn't matter at all. I just started crying, and I hated it. I was so angry.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's just like, oh, that kind of weird thing where you can't just save and have your file is such a lost thing now. Like, in some way, that was one of the reasons I really liked the experience of playing the Dead Rising Survivor mode, because it forced you to keep the game on for a stupid amount of time. Yeah. So I had to leave my console on overnight, and like I had to marathon that game for like 14 hours to get that achievement. But I felt good about it. It was like, yeah, bringing it back. This is exactly how games are. It was kind of neat.
Back in the Super Mario Brothers 3 a little bit, like in the process of me and my dad playing through it, we had heard that my cousin Ryan had found a way to go behind like the thing to get the secret warp stuff. So my dad called up to Edmonton. We lived in Calgary at the time, and like asked to speak to my cousin, who's a couple years older than me. So a kid, obviously like 20 some years younger than him. And, like, just ask this kid that, like, our family member about how you get behind the scenes or whatever so you can get a flute.
Oh, yeah.
Video game, because there's no such thing as the internet, right? Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I think, like, stuff like that, and, like, I don't want to be too weird about this, but the only time I ever remember telling my dad, like, specifically, I love you, those 3 words, is when I found out he got me Mega Man 3
Okay.
as a kid.
Like, he just absolutely nailed a present.
It was Christmas.
Yeah, okay.
And, like, I think the episode we did with John a couple back, I had said that was my best Christmas gift ever.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever. Like, I just remember that being, like, the only time I've ever said those 3 words in unison.
Okay.
So that's kind of weird, too. I don't know, it's just kind of a weird thing to remember back to a time when there was no internet and you had to call a random person because you heard they could do this thing and you wanted to know if it was how you do it, and then you would try it and probably fail and then do it again.
Like, yeah, that, like I acquired secrets for the Mario Brothers games just by playing a bunch of Mario Brothers with a bunch of different people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like they would kind of be like, "Oh, you didn't find this in this level," and I'd just be like, "Whoa!" And then later I'd kind of find a coin or a life in one level, and they'd be like, "Oh, I didn't know that was there," and like that kind of direct like transference of information just doesn't happen anymore because you don't need to do it that way.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird, but yeah.
I remember I used to take the bus to school, and I had a
Mhm.
Mortal Kombat 2 strategy guide.
Yeah.
So I would be the guy every kid would talk to on the bus about
For
how
the
to do
fatalities?
something. Yeah.
That hunt for fatalities is something I didn't really get to do, but
And then, like, if you did this a certain way, and, like, or the big one, I don't know if you remember a lot of the arcade days, because they were kind of going out of style when we were young, even.
Mhm.
There was a thing where if you get through the whole game as Ryu on Street Fighter and didn't get hit or whatever, you would unlock Mei Ling or whatever the hell his name was at the end. Fei Long, I guess,
Mhm.
or whatever. So, like, there would be people lined up just trying that. And, like, I always thought it was true for a long time, to the point where when it came out on consoles, me and my cousin stayed up for 24 hours trying to get it.
Misinformation.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think if there's like there is kind of a means of getting that kind of group project thing going again, but it's taking a different form, you know, like sort of the Demon Souls, Dark Souls leaving notes helping each other, or like the kind of weird super multiplayer experiences like the Nobi Nobi Boy getting to different planets, or like Curiosity
Mm-hmm.
are trying to kind of tap into that community thing, or like to some extent, even though they kind of fizzle, like Fez and Journey, like again, kind of looking at them as that weird kind of big experience. But once all the secrets are discovered, then it's kind of over.
Totally.
Which is what kind of changes it. But yeah, I don't know.
You know Cruis'n USA?
Yeah.
Every time I think of that game, I smell malt beer.
Okay, I thought you were going to talk about how if you hold left for a long time, a head appears.
No. I would rather tell you about the time I drank a 40 of beer in one of those stupid, like, horns that people have on St. Patrick's Day, and was so drunk I was puking everywhere while playing that game.
God, that sounds terrible.
So I associate that... Oh, and Rainbow Road on Mario 64.
Mm-hmm.
I associate that with being completely dizzy on a couch with 3 girls I've never met before.
Amazing.
They were playing it, and I was watching. I passed out, and I don't remember the rest of that night.
Okay.
It was the worst night of my life, though. You know how badly you have to defecate after not ingesting anything except alcohol for 10 hours?
Not for 10 hours.
It's
but...
bad. It's real bad. Actually,
believe-
you know what? If you talked to Erin, she would be able to tell you about that night, probably.
She was one of the 3?
No, she was somewhere else.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, weird. Sorry, my antivirus just yelled at me.
No, the silence was perfect.
Okay. I'm just sorry, again, I just keep going back to the games that are triggering these memories for you. Because I just can't, I don't know. For some reason, a lot of major personal revelations don't coincide with games for me.
Okay.
It's just, yeah. It's more just how dated that era of 3D looks. Just, I don't know. I can't go back to some of that stuff. If you've seen Cruis'n USA, recently, I can't believe I ever thought that looked good.
Yeah, totally. It's
it's just baffling to me. It's just how did your brain look at this and be like, yeah, that looks like a fire truck? Like, it looks like a weird, horrible, like, rectangle, and it spins in such an unrealistic way. It's just, I don't know. I just, it's such a, like, it's impossible to explain to anyone who wasn't there, well, that was the peak, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's, like, some of the stuff even now, like, looking back at earlier this generation, or PS2 stuff, like, it's just like, oh, wow, these haven't dated well, like, ew. Even stuff I like, it's already hard to explain Deadly Premonition, but that game looks so bad. It's just, I don't know. I'm not sure. Like, if you just kind of abstract it all the way, or you have a simple look to it, like, it's like, Pac-Man kind of just always looks like that. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, it's specifically that era where things got to 3D is kind of just going to be this weird lost chapter in terms of, like, appreciation. It's just like, this is, I can't get over how bad this looks. We need to remake this, is going to kind of happen.
I find it weird that all media that I ingest, in some way, I could tell you the exact feeling I felt at that moment. Or, like, something going on in my life.
Like, completely tangential to the actual thing? Like,
well,
it's
maybe. I was talking about some video game stuff that directly impacted, like, feelings I had at that moment that have stuck with me to this day.
Yeah.
But, in that regard, you know, the video for the song Thriller?
Yes.
It used to air on MTV or Much Music here in Canada every Halloween. And that was the first time I ever did drugs.
Is while watching that?
Yeah, like that was on after. And I got freaked out and ran home from my friend's house, and I got lost.
The end of that video is terrifying, so...
I was a kid, too. Like, I was hopped up on something I shouldn't have been hopped up on at, like, 13 years old, and walked home for 20 minutes, and got lost, and yeah.
Oh, God. Oh, man. Have you ever seen the movie... Oh, what is it? It's with Robert De Niro. Angel Heart.
No, I haven't.
The last 5 minutes of Angel Heart, I can't imagine what that would be like on drugs. It must be the worst thing that's ever happened. Like, it's so bad. It's so terrifying and just weird. And, just the memory of the Thriller video. Like, the way that ends is like, hey, it's kind of comedic, but I still don't like it. Like
where he's a zombie?
Like, with his eyes.
That's the part. Like, when he... Like, the video's fine or whatever, and the zombies are even kind of comical, but then when they look at him and his eyes are all big, that freaked me out.
Oh, God. It's the worst. I hate when that happens in anything. Like, for some reason, the Goosebumps intro is the worst thing ever.
The dog's eyes?
The dog's eyes.
I know, right?
It's not even, like... It's looking at it now, it's, like, such a bad effect... But that still doesn't make it any less awful.
And I still remember the theme song was like, roof, 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 at that part.
And then, like, distorts or something. Like, I saw that at the exact wrong time as a kid.
Yep.
And it just is now just seared into the terror center of my brain. Like, it's just like, this is what horror looks like, is when things look like that. So whenever I see anything that reminds me of those, like, the eyes are wrong. It just does not, it just tingles every part of my spine. I hate it. It's so bad.
Do you have any specific, like, things where you were under the influence of an illicit substance of some sort that you remember, like, watching or seeing something that you're like, oh man?
I don't know.
Like, for me, it was Thriller. Like, everything after that was kind of whatever.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, I don't have some specific piece of me that's forever been associated with that. That hasn't happened.
I think that's a good thing to associate with drugs, though, because, like, thinking back on it, I'm just like, oh, I don't want that to happen again.
Mm-hmm.
Idle Hands was another one, the first time I did mushrooms.
Idle Hands?
Yeah. Devon Sawa?
I don't know if
that movie?
I haven't seen it, at the very least.
Okay. That messed me up, because the intro's, like, all this weird bloodiness. Like, it's all CG or whatever, but then, like, a hand appears in it or whatever. And I screamed.
In it?
Seth Green.
Okay.
And Jessica Alba when she was like 20, maybe.
Yeah, no, I've never seen this movie.
We should watch it sometime. It's actually pretty fun. But yeah, that like I said, I can associate media like something with almost every piece of media.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird. I don't know if I like it.
Yeah, no, that's definitely, like, I don't know. It's rarely anything to, like, a feeling or something. Like, I guess the movie Fireproof I will hate forever because it was like basically, yeah. I guess where this happens is like awkward date experiences ruin movies, and I hate that because like
what experiences?
awkward dates.
Date. I thought you said gate. I was just
No.
like, is that like a homosexual agenda thing?
No. Oh, sorry, Firewall. That's the movie.
Firewall. Yeah.
With Harrison Ford, which to be fair, it's like a shit movie, so it doesn't matter.
Totally.
But like with some stuff, it's like a Pixar movie or Born Ultimatum.
Mm-hmm.
Like I only watched it once, and it was part of this kind of awkward date where like I never saw her again.
Yeah.
And it's just like this just sucks now. Like this is just badly associated in my brain with unpleasant feelings. And it's not even the movie's fault. Like, for all I know, that movie's fantastic. I can never unsee how I saw it. So it's not going to work ever.
You know what? You want to know what the real tragedy is?
What?
With my last ex, the worst thing I associate with her is Insane Clown Posse, so I can never listen to them again.
Oh, no. It's such a tragedy, Paul.
I know, right?
Especially since they became so awesome. I don't know.
Like, like I said, like we were saying before, sometimes it's the other way.
Right.
Where it's like, okay, you were really into this thing that was terrible that I used to like when I was a stupid kid. Right. So, like, we can share this kind of, because I do know what you're talking about. But now that, like, you're a total bitch, then that means I never have to listen to this again. And I'm happy both ways, because then I won't think of you ever. And I don't have to listen to them.
Perfect.
Yeah, it works out sometimes.
So if I joke about them, does that bring you to an unpleasant place? Or I
it kind of does.
Okay, because I didn't know that.
It does a little.
So when we're playing Twisted Metal, I'm just like, this is basically Insane Clown Posse the game. That's because I felt like that. Like, it's so ridiculous.
Okay, yeah. So I'm just going to quickly say, though, the first memory I ever had with Insane Clown Posse is I remember I wanted the Great Milenko CD so badly. That my mom said she would give me $20 for whatever if I cleaned the whole house, so I spent a whole night cleaning the entire house so I could buy that album.
Nice. Well done.
I know. I tell you, man, there's a story behind everything that I have been into. It's weird. We could go on forever like this, so we should probably end it.
We should probably end it. I can't really think of any like pertinent news or anything to highlight.
I'm thinking when we do the top movies or whatever, maybe we'll do a separate podcast really quickly about the top events that have happened, because I'd like to maybe talk a little bit about some of the stupid shit that's happened this year, like Coney.
Coney! I was just thinking about Coney.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, that video viral spread thing was an interesting media thing for me, despite it being kind of stupid.
Well, there's more stuff, too. Like, the Olympics happened. Like, there's stuff that maybe we should say happened this year that were pretty important. Like the Trayvon Martin shooting was pretty big because it dealt with this whole like race thing or whatever, the way that was handled. The SOPA thing was huge.
Yeah.
Like the hurricanes that have happened, the school shootings unfortunately have happened.
That movie theater shooting, like just briefly call back. Like there is a scene in God Bless America that could not exist post that movie, like that thing happening.
Where they shoot up a theater?
They shoot up a theater, and it's done for, like, bad laughs, kind of, and it was just like, oh my goodness. I don't know. Like, it's not like... Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, this is just... Alright. Wow. Well done? I don't know.
Yeah. So maybe we'll do a short, like, half an hour, whatever, however long we want to talk about just stuff like that have happened. I need some time to prepare for that, because I want to remember some of the stuff that happened this year.
Okay.
But yeah, so maybe that'll happen. It would be kind of nice to revisit some of that. But yeah, so the movie thing will happen, and we will be talking with Sean from Top Down Perspective for any of you that listen to that, which there should be a lot of you. I mean, come on, if you like this, listen to those guys too, because they're friends, and one of them is this guy here. So like, if you're
it's
into
shorter
this,
too, if that is interesting.
If you're into that sort of thing, like, we're all kind of part of the same bullshit thing we try to do here and just inform you about what's important in life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one's much more game specific.
Well, it's specifically just games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, we'll have Sean. Maybe John?
Maybe. I'm not sure how keyed into movie stuff he is to, like, if he wants to talk about it, but I can
we'll extend the olive branch to him.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure what we're doing for video game stuff. Obviously, you can listen to Nathan's ideas on the video games on Top Down Perspective. Either way, my stuff will be on the site in one way or another, so there's that. Yeah, other than that, as always, you can get us on Facebook at facebook.com/thepixelresponse. Email address is podcast@pixel-response.com if you want to send an email. Twitter is @pixel_response. We'll probably respond to you quicker that way, so do that if you can. Listen to us on Stitcher or iTunes. Give us a thumbs up on Stitcher if you like us. If you don't do anything because you can't give us reasons why you don't like us on Stitcher. However, if you don't like us on iTunes, give us a 1 or 2 star if you want, but give us a reason so we can fix it. Otherwise, give us a 5-star because we like it. And as always, you can listen to more of us, all the stuff we do, read what we do at pixel-response.com for more.
Yay!
I've been drinking way too much, and it's time we end this podcast. So thanks again, guys, and we'll see you next week.